Well, I'm going to get started with the introduction here, you guys. So let's do some public service announcements. For anyone new to THORChain, here's a quick intro. THORChain is a decentralized exchange that can swap Bitcoin with thousands of other cryptos without using wrapped tokens, and all from the comfort of your self-custody wallet. There's no KYC on THORChain. It's permissionless. Rune is the token of THORChain, RUNE. And you do not need to own Rune to trade on THORChain. You don't have to touch it, know about it, anything like that. It's just for if you want to invest in it. To swap on THORChain, you can go to thorchain.com and scroll down a bit, and there's a section called Built with THORChain, and you can see all the different front ends and everything that have integrated THORChain. And so you can go use whichever one you want there. And what's really cool on the horizon is literally happening right now is Rujira is building basically Binance on top of THORChain. So all the features, everything you do in Binance, you'll be able to do in Rujira. And that's like, it's being rolled out right now. Hopefully it'll be, fully blown live here in the next few months. If you hold Rune on a centralized exchange like Binance, you should get it off, get it into self-custody, right? Crypto is happiest in a self-custody wallet. And this is the whole point of THORChain, to empower you to do that. And with Rune sitting on Binance, what you're really doing is you're giving short sellers the ability to sell Rune and drive the price down on you. So if you get Rune off of the centralized exchanges into self-custody, you remove their ability to do that. And you should also look at earning some yield on your Rune and bonding it to a node. I'm a node operator. I'm actually looking for some bond providers right now, so you can reach out to me. I know Slambammer, he's a node operator. He's looking for bond providers. You can reach out to him. There's a THORChain community Discord that you can join, learn all about THORChain. Go have fun, meet some fellow THORChads there. And guys, please repost this space. Let people know we're on. If you're listening to the recording, repost it, talk about it, ask questions. And this spaces that we're doing are aimed towards anyone in the THORChain journey, whether you're brand new or a seasoned OG. There should be something for everybody here. So everyone's welcome. And hopefully with all that, we have everybody up. I think it's still just me. I think I have to approve you guys here. The whole point for me doing that intro is to give time for everybody to come up. Patriot, are you there? Did you get on?
Hey, can you hear me, buddy?
I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it from the Runebot account.
Okay, gotcha. So let's do a little quick intro of ourselves here. So yeah, my name is Kenton. I have a fund and invest in Rune and run nodes on THORChain. So I'm a node operator on THORChain. Yeah, pass it on to you, Patriot.
Hey guys, Patriot Sounds, educator for THORChain, content creator. Been doing it for 5 years. Love the protocol, and I'm really excited for today's topic. Go ahead and kick it to you, Pragmatic Monkey.
Hey guys, Pragmatic Monkey here. I'm from the Rujira team, one of the project leads focusing on all the DeFi products that fall under the Rujira team. So mostly the order book DEX, the IMM on top of the order book, the money markets, the liquidation engine, all those things that is being built by Rujira. But I'm not part of the Levana team building perps, notably. Neither the Wing team building the NFT marketplace or the team building pilots. So anything else, very much my area of expertise that I can speak about. I'm very excited to be here and tell you more about the app layer.
Great. Anybody else want to introduce themselves?
Yeah, GM everybody, Orion here. Just wanted to hop on to say hi. So I work on the THORChain base layer. I work at 9 Realms, have been involved with THORChain for many years now. Yeah, just excited to hop on, say hi, and chat with everybody here.
Great.
Hey,
go ahead, Eric.
Guys. Thanks. I'm been at THORChat for a while now. I'm head of growth of Mocha, and I just have a public service announcement. There's a small contest for anyone in the community, either that comes from the THORChain ecosystem or Rujira ecosystem. We are one ecosystem in general. Like we are the same entity. We just have different fronts, and so there's this contest to make a post, a meme, a video, whatever that you want to do about that topic, and there's 100 Ruji and 50 Rune as a prize pool. So just make sure to check out my pinned post to participate. It's gonna be like, just join, let's just spread the word that THORChain and Rujira are one. So yeah, looking forward to this conversation. Thanks for having me.
Great, excellent. Let's jump into it then. So today's topic is ADR20 and the THORChain website. I think we start with the THORChain website. Because first off, I should apologize to THORSwap. I posted something saying like they're not loyal to THORChain, and that was a really a poor choice of words on my part, and I can see how they would take offense at. I do not think they are like not loyal to THORChain or anything like that. Like they're obviously great friends of THORChain, and so I didn't mean to throw shade at them or anything like that. What I meant was they're not dedicated to THORChain. Like they're not just solely THORChain focused. They are routing trades elsewhere, which is fine. It's their prerogative. And so this is kind of what, over the last couple of weeks, this has sparked some debate and it seems like a lot of drama, where I and myself and some others feel pretty strongly that THORChain should take matters into its own hands, have its own website, promote its own front end. And I've got lots to say on this. So let me rant for a bit, I guess. First off, it's losers see problems as obstacles. Winners see problems as opportunities. So, we look at the problem we have with THORChain, the way it's being quoted in these other wallets. Instead of viewing it as a problem, whatever, we should view it as an opportunity to do better, do something different, improve, right? The competition is showing us what they have. We can look at it and see, how can we improve? How can we be better? And that absolutely should be done, 100%. But it isn't an either or. Like, it's not like we only make the trades cheaper and faster and not do our own front end. There's no reason we can't do both. And I'd throw back to some of the interfaces where they don't like the idea of a THORChain front end. I think they're seeing that as a problem and viewing it as an obstacle. Whereas there's some front ends that are seeing that, instead of viewing it as a problem, they're seeing it as an opportunity. Leodex and Unstoppable have offered to provide a free front end for THORChain. I have another front end in my DMs talking about, what if we convert to just THORChain only. So people are seeing this problem as an opportunity and trying to turn it into something good for them. So it's actually been amazing, like how many people are coming around trying to solve this, figure it out, trying to make something work. Like it just goes to show how strong the THORChain brand is in the THORChain community, and I think that's why it's important we have our own front end, because we can lean into that and we can grow it and we can take advantage of it. Whereas right now it's really hard to do that without our own website. To have our own audience, our own investors to go evangelize and talk about THORChain and people to use it. It's really hard without that. And let's scroll through my notes here, you guys. Yeah, so the other thing with the other front end saying, THORChain should just focus on improving its swaps and the pricing and everything. Totally agree, again. But if they're worried about a THORChain only front end, they should focus on their own stuff too. Improve user experience, improve your UX, focus on your users, make your product better too, right? It goes both ways. and that's what ultimately, this is why competition makes both parties stronger and better. And the other thing with that is if some of these THORChain front ends, if they got a grant from the Treasury to start and get going, and like a 4-year head start on building an audience, like, you know, for one, if they got a grant from the Treasury, is it not fair to expect they only host THORChain? And you know, maybe it's good. I think it is good that they're not going elsewhere, because they need to develop their own audience. Like the whole point of kickstarting that isn't so they can just serve the THORChain audience, is so they can go acquire new audiences and bring new people to THORChain. And this is the whole point of getting THORChain integrated into other wallets, is that we're unlocking new audiences, right? If it's just, you know, we give all this money and everyone to all these other wallets and platforms, and all they're doing is servicing the THORChain audience, it's like, well, what's the point? Like, we'll just do our own front end, right? Like the point of having all these competing front ends is you're unlocking new sources of users for us. Let's keep going through my notes here, guys. So yeah, I think a problem, you know, the thing with THORChain has always been viewed as infrastructure, right? Behind the scenes infrastructure that nobody knows and is going to use. And it sounds pretty cool and awesome, but it's not really working out like that. Like we are in the background, but we have no control. Like that would work if THORChain is the only route. It isn't the only route. You know, we're seeing these multiple routes, and like Trust Wallet, for example, we have no control where those flows go. You know, it's just being routed on price. And then on basically all the other platforms, THORChain isn't invisible, it is actually visible. The user has to select it, and you know, they see us through all these other, you know, competing with all these other dexes. So like, imagine if you have a company, right? Somebody, you know, I'm starting a new company, and I'm going to pitch you on the idea. I've got the best widget in the world. And you're like, man, Kenton, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm interested in investing. You know, tell me more. Like how are you going to sell this thing? You know, you're selling on your website, right? No, not going to sell on my website. Okay, well, how are people going to buy it? I'm going to send them to Amazon. Okay, go to Amazon, but you're gonna tell people it's on Amazon, right? No, I'm not going to tell anyone it's on Amazon. Okay, well, how are people going to find this and buy it? Well, when they go to Amazon, they're going to search widget. You're like, all right, well, I'm going there right now. I'm searching widget, and I see several other widgets, like, and yours is one of them. Why am I choosing yours? Oh, we're going to be the cheapest. And it's like, man, sounds like an awful investment. Why would anybody want to invest in a company like that? You're basically what you're saying is we're just going to compete on being the lowest price. Like it's, you know, it's all, and so the only way to do that is to squeeze your own margins, right? So if your whole investment case is being the lowest cost provider, that people are just going to, that basically misers are going to be searching for the lowest cost option. Like, no, that's an awful business, you guys. You know, I'm talking to investors. I'm trying to raise money to get people to buy Rune, and I had a pretty good call yesterday with a prospect. And one of the things they brought this up, not me. They don't know anything about THORChain. They don't know anything going on right now. They just heard about THORChain for the first time through me, and they asked me about marketing. How is this being sold? Who's out there? Who's doing it? Like, you know, THORChain is a business. You know, we have to get this product out there. We have to sell it. We have to get people to use it. And really, THORChain, it's like THORChain doesn't have a relationship with Trust Wallet or Ledger. SwapKit does. That's the relationship. And so SwapKit is out there selling us. And what SwapKit has done has basically commoditized liquidity. And so, like when you see on a quote from SwapKit, and you see all the different providers, all the user sees is the price, and arguably they're just equating all these different providers and just discerning between them based on price. So if they see Near and Chainflip and Maya and THORChain, the user isn't stopping and going looking at their websites and going to see what each one is about, right? So like we can argue all day long that Near is routing trades through a centralized entity, that Chainflip is faking their quotes, that Maya is quoting streaming swaps, not instant swaps, like, or the THORChain is so much better on stuff. Like none of that matters. When the user sees those 4 different quotes, they're just going for the cheapest, and so that essentially commoditizes the liquidity, where it's just a race to the bottom on fees. And it's a really, like, trust me, guys, commodities are bad business. Like commodity mining is awful. I did it for 10 years. It's hard because you're a price taker, not a price setter, right? So an ounce of gold produced in the Congo or produced in Canada is the same, right? Gold is fungible. A ton of copper produced in Chile or China, it's the same, it's fungible. And when we see these front ends quoting all these different sources, these different exchanges, it's making liquidity fungible in the user's eyes. They're not going to choose based on, oh, well, THORChain is decentralized and this and that, not going to censor me, all that good stuff that we promote. They don't see that. They don't know that. So, banking on that is tough. I still think we should. I'm not saying we shouldn't participate or play. We should aim to get our fees down. But the advantage of having our own site, our own website, is the users connecting with us, our brand, and wants to use THORChain. It's not being offered any other routes, and we can be more in control of the message. We can get it there, shill, sell, try to get people to use it, and then we create that connection with our customer, with our user. That they aren't just choosing us based on price; they're choosing us based on quality, and they're willing to pay a premium for that. And so next time they go in, if they go into another front end and they see THORChain amongst a sea of others, we've now built that connection with the user, and they will choose us over the others because we have a brand. And I've been, these last few months, I've been working, like, trying to figure out how do we promote Trust Wallet and Ledger for people to use THORChain. And it's really cumbersome, you guys. It's really difficult to come up with like a realistic way to do it, at least without spending a ton of money. Whereas if we have our own site, we can funnel traffic there. It's way easier and way cheaper. And we give people like Rune investors, like how many thousands of THORChains has out there, something to sell. Like we give them like we basically hire like thousands of free marketers for ourselves. Because as it stands today, like to use THORChain, you got to send somebody to Trust Wallet. Okay, well, we have no guarantee the trade's going through us. They route the trade on their own. So then, okay, well, you got to send somebody to a front end where they quote all these other dexes. And now you got to tell your friend, well, this one isn't good for that reason. Don't use that one for that reason. You got to explain all this stuff. Like it's just a nightmare to try to get, to convert somebody to THORChain. Whereas if we had our own website, someone would say, oh yeah, go to this website and go do this. Boom, done. You don't have to explain Maya or Chainflip or Near or anybody else. You're just explaining THORChain. And like, this is the real guerrilla marketing that everyone should want. This is how Bitcoin became huge, is people in meetups and coffee shops saying, hey, let me show you, download a wallet, I'll send you some Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's become the biggest brand in the world. And well, one of the biggest brands in the world. And so with THORChain not having its own website, we're like preventing that from happening. We're making it harder for people to shill us, for people to get out there and market for us for free, which is the ultimate form of marketing, right? So we need to be encouraging that and incentivizing that. I'm just keeping scrolling through my notes here, guys. Okay, so yeah, just a few more things. Keep my ranting. So one of the things about a dedicated website, people might be thinking the risk. Okay, we have our own website. It could get shut down. You know, Big Brother, this kind of stuff. That was the original reasoning for not having a THORChain a website, right? To have it decentralized, right? To protect us, which that made sense at the time. I think we all agreed. But that came out of an environment that was very hostile to crypto, and we're in a totally different environment now. It's nowhere near as hostile, and I think the idea of like people going straight to jail is a bit far fetched. Like, I understand it happened with the Tornado Cash guy and the Samurai guy, but that's on the privacy side of stuff, and that's what Big Brother does. They take one person, make an example out of them, and force everyone else to piss their pants in fear to fall in line. And I just, for one, I'd say live on your feet. Don't die on your knees. And if no one's willing to put their name on it, I will. Like, I'm not worried about it, because we're not doing anything wrong. And the worst that would happen is you get a cease and desist. They say, you know what, this isn't good. We don't like it. You got to turn it off. Okay, done. Turn it off. No one goes straight to jail. It just gets turned off. And you might be thinking, well, what's the point, Kenton? If we have this front end, you build it up, and then Big Brother turns it off. It's like, all right, well, we're right back where we started, where we are today. But in the meantime, we've built up this huge brand, this huge audience, and anyone who's been using it wants to keep using THORChain. They'll go to the other front ends. They'll find another way. Or, it's like whack-a-mole. You shut down this site, we'll start another one. Somebody else will bring it up. Like, it's not I think that's a hurdle we can easily overcome. Again, problems can be viewed as opportunities, not as obstacles. And then to add to that, the problem with the hacked funds going through THORChain, it isn't so much the actual that is actually happening. Like, we know we can't avoid it. It's the percentage of it. So back in February, the $1 billion going through THORChain is 95% of the volume, right? It's the percentage that gives the bad perception, right? This is why nobody attacked the Ethereum or Bitcoin miners, because that $1 billion is a very tiny percentage of the transaction volume. So the way THORChain, way we protect ourselves from that is a good offense, increasing our volume, getting the volume up. If that $1 billion going through THORChain was only 9% of the volume, we wouldn't have nearly have had the backlash or the criticism that we would, right? So the best thing THORChain can do is lean into being an honest, legitimate exchange, increase our volumes as much as possible, so that when the illicit flows come through, it's diluted. And this is how it works in the physical world. The solution to pollution is dilution. And I know it sounds kitschy and it sounds silly, but is if anyone's in waste management, it's absolutely true. So I used to be a petroleum engineer, and the drilling mud that goes into wells, that would get sprayed over farmers' land, over crown land or whatever. And you're allowed so many parts per million of salt and oil and whatever chemicals. When it's all grouped together, it's toxic. But when you spread it out over a huge area, it's okay. The land can absorb it and deal with it. I used to run radioactive tools into the ground, like an actual gamma ray neutron source. And like the highly radioactive, if you have it in your pocket, your balls are going to drop off in a few days, type thing. And sometimes it happens, like once in a blue moon, that those tools get stuck and lost in the hole, and they can't get them out. So they don't go through this huge effort to dig it out of the ground and remove it. The company has to buy all the land around that hole and basically just cordon it off. And so what they're doing is diluting the radiation over like tens or dozens or hundreds of kilometers around that source. So it's still there, but they've just diluted it through all that land, preventing anybody from going there. So it's the same thing with the hacked funds. If they're all going through our own front end and people are worried about it, we can't stop it. That we can't, it's pollution. The best we can do is dilute it, increase our volume, and that comes back to marketing, right? Trying to drive traffic there and drive volume. I noticed Khal he had a comment in Discord how the bot volume, the fees that we've generated, like totally dwarfs any fees we've gotten from our front ends. And he was suggesting, don't focus on the small stuff, focus on the big stuff. And I'm like, well, I think he actually highlighted our problem, because that means the whole invisible infrastructure in all these different front ends is a waste of time and shouldn't be done. Just focus on the ARB volume on THORChain, which I disagree. I think we do continue to lean into the infrastructure and all these different websites. I think it's just going to show how these other wallets and front ends aren't, they're not capturing an audience. They're not converting, right? And so instead of us sitting here on our hands and not doing anything, like, let's get out there. Let's try and convert. Let's try and get those users. When I do the math on the numbers Khal put in Discord, I just did some rough maths, and it seemed like 7% of the fees were coming from retail versus like our bots institution. So let's call those our bots institution. So let's call those our bots like institutional money. So it's like 7% retail, 93% institutional. When I look at Coinbase, like 25% of their volumes are retail, 75% is institutional. So to me, what this highlights is we're really lacking on the retail side. Like we need to tap into that market and get more. And instead of just waiting and hoping for us to take matters into our own hands, why not? We have agency. We can do something. Yeah, and just one last tidbit here. Again, going back to THORChain being like infrastructure, like it should be a business-to-business product. There's no reason we can't also be a business-to-consumer product. Like businesses can have multiple lines of revenue, multiple target markets. Like Toyota has Lexus, Honda has Acura. There's no reason we can't be in all of the wallets, all of the websites, all the front ends, and have our own front end. Like I don't understand why we would purposely hamstring ourselves or avoid doing that. So I think those are all my points. I'm going to stop there. Thank you guys. Let me kind of view my thoughts and let others jump in.
Ryan, go ahead. I think.
Thanks, Kenton. Really appreciate the run through of your thoughts there. I guess in my mind there isn't anything prohibiting anybody from starting a front end that can focus on THORChain if that's what you think is important. It maybe just trying to peel back what you're saying a little bit more. Are you saying that it needs to be a like THORChain.com or THORChain URL? Like what in your mind is a THORChain front end, and how is that different than anybody just setting up a swapping website and only serving a THORChain route?
Brandon, yeah. So THORChain.com. I mean, and if you guys want to keep it as is, fine. But we can call it like THORChain.trade or whatever. But yeah, like it has to be THORChain in the URL, because that's what connects. That creates our brand. And the other thing I wanted to add to it: how many people think THORSwap is THORChain? How many people bought the Thor token thinking they're buying the THORChain token? Like having a THORChain front end is more than just try to get volume. It helps encourage people to buy Rune, and it has to be a THORChain website. Like it's just that simple. You can't have another name and we got to explain. Well, no, it's different because of this and that. Like you just lose people. Like it's too much to overcome.
Yeah. I'll pop in here. So there's a problem I'm noticing, and I've had this problem the whole line because, you know, we've had the infrastructure in the background. We've had that philosophy for long, which was fine, was Kenton alluded to, because the last environment was so hostile, and we were literally trying to think of any and every way we could protect THORChain, make it as hardened as possible. We no longer exist in that environment. So what I'm having now is I'll try and reach out to various communities. I've been doing a lot of work, you know, trying to reach out to the XR peers to let them know that, you know, what we've built. And the big problem I have is, well, how do I tell them to go use THORChain? How do I do that? Because I'm a general educator, right? And so I do my best to remain impartial. In fact, no one's ever told me to be impartial. I just took that upon myself. So, you know, I don't want to go to someone and say, well, use Thor's wallet. Well, then THORSwap's going to get upset. Or if I say use THORSwap, then Leodex might get upset, or InstaSwap, or, you know, Control Wallet, or Edge Wallet, or whatever, right? I need a central location that's low cognitive burden that I say, hey, this is THORChain. You want to swap your asset that we have natively on THORChain? Go here. Go here. Easy, simple interface that is THORChain specific. I need that because it's such a wasted opportunity that I can't just give them something that they can consume and use right away. And I give them the ecosystem link, and they click the ecosystem link, and then there's this huge list of, you know, wallets and interfaces and this and that, and there's too much friction between trying to get someone new into our ecosystem and using THORChain. And again, as Kenton alluded to, if someone goes and uses a specific interface, they may not actually end up using THORChain. And this is a problem, and I think the solution's quite clear. We should do what everyone else does. We are the only ones who don't do this. We should have our own interface.
So I guess I'm a bit confused here. Why are we waiting for some permission, or why don't we just do it? Like, that seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. So I think memo list is I think that's the great way to do it. I think that'd be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Just go with that for now.
Look, a couple of things, Orion. First off, like, this has just started as me and others complaining and whining, and then but it's like, you know, first have to like think about it, talk about it. Doesn't make sense, then start figuring out how we do it, right? And you know, I've had some people, you know, I think being a little bit of Debbie Downers, like, oh, well, it's too hard, and there's gonna be this problem and that problem, and like, actually, I don't think it'll be that hard. Like, based on the feedback and the way everyone's responding, like, that's what's really awesome about the THORChain community, is how like everyone is doers and proactive and like wants to help and wants to do stuff. Like I had no idea like Unstoppable and Leodex would offer something like that. Like that's super cool. The front end in my DMs, they suggest if we take a percentage of, you know, we'll do the THORChain only front end at 0 fees. And they just take a percentage of revenue from THORChain. So like, I don't want to change topics, but like the burn, you guys, like, I'm more than happy to get rid of the burn. I'm not married to it. I really like Boone's idea, using getting rid of the burn, you putting some of that money to POL, and we can use some of that money for marketing. We can use some of that money for a front end, you know? So we take, say, 1% of revenue, pay a totally different team. Doesn't have to be nine rounds. We've got hire some new people, run this website, and, you know, if the revenue is going up, like, I understand running websites probably a fixed cost for some people, and that 1% could become much higher. Well, then that's money we used for marketing, right? For paid advertising, paid clicks, drive traffic to the website. So, you know, we're not asking anybody to do any more work. We're bringing in a new team. It could be a website that already exists. You know, we're just repurposing the burn. So it's not like, you know, the treasury has to pay. Like, I think if everyone's on board and we all kind of agree, like, I feel like this can be done pretty quick. And then the other part was, like Patriot says, just memoless swaps. So my understanding with the front end, it's supporting all the wallets. That's the heavy lift. That's a difficult part. And that's where you need, a devs to spend time on it, update it, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas with memoless, my understanding is the website is very light, is very easy. So that could be a push on 9Realms, maybe help you guys get memoless out, get that approved, get that going, and then we can get our website up, get that going quicker. So I'm not saying I don't know which idea which is the best, which way we should go. This is the point of talking about it and having everybody's ideas come out, because like I say, everyone's smart people here, and I feel like we all talk about this. We can figure out a pretty good solution.
Mark, did you have anything you want to add to this? Or Pragmatic Monkey?
Well, that's a bit out of the Rujira end. Like here, the point is really to have the THORChain brand up front, because we could also make the case that Rujira becomes a de facto front end for THORChain, but it doesn't work the same way. Like we have also to get some fees on that, and we were never in the business of running. We have RujiSwap, which is a front end for THORChain, but that's just a temporary thing. Like eventually, everything is going to be routed through RujiTrades, and that will benefit both the base layer and the app layer. We will tap into the base layer liquidity via virtualization strategy, and then we'll have also the market making strategy on the app layer that will hopefully allow us to provide even more competitive quotes despite the fee taken by RujiTrades, and we share this revenue with THORChain. So I think it's a different thing. Like let's not bring Rujira into that. You want a brand like THORChain brand, THORChain.swap or whatever. I think this all makes sense to me. Maybe just on the source of funding. I love the idea of Boone of reallocating, at least doing some protocol on liquidity. I think that's very good. I think some fund for marketing for you guys as well also makes sense. I'm not sure permanently redirecting a percentage of the revenue to a third-party team just to maintain this front end is the best thing to do. I think Paul is probably a better long-term use of capital. So why just thinking like my view, if you were to do that, is instead of doing it like completely zero fee, you just add a much smaller affiliate fee on top. But instead of being like an average of 50 bips, which is pretty much what most other front end do, you make it like a 5 or 10 bips. And that should be more than enough to sustain whoever is the team doing that, and it doesn't cost any revenue to THORChain base layer, and allow you to reallocate this revenue to something more productive in the long term, like building protocol and liquidity.
So that's a good idea. And I thought about that because that would be a good way, to like some of their front ends are worried that we're just going to undercut them and take their volume, right? And that is absolutely not the goal. And so I was thinking, well, what if we had 30 basis points or 50 or whatever, and just be kind of average with everybody else? Then we avoid that conversation, right? And then that is what is used to self-fund the website. I agree that is a good idea. But the other part of it, I'm thinking
one more thing. If you do that, you could even actually send back part of this affiliate fee to THORChain, to the protocol. That's also.
So the other thing now I'm thinking is if we have the lower fee, well, let's just say the front end has zero fee. This is another layer of protection. So the issue with that $1 billion of Bybit going through THORChain, it isn't the fact that it happened. It's the fact that we made money on it. That's the issue. If that $1 billion went through a THORChain front end and that website did not make any money from it, then that website's fine. It's not going to get in trouble. The trouble is when you make money on it. So that'd be a reason to have the fees set to zero, is that anybody running that website shouldn't have to worry about anything because they're not benefiting from those flows directly. So, if we pay them indirectly, fine, it doesn't have to be 1%, whatever, but, we have some separation between, like that website is basically free like a public utility, public good, then there should be no concern about it being shut down. So that'd be a reason to keep the fees at 0.
I have many thoughts on this. There's a lot of different, my brain's going in 30 different directions here. So that's actually a good point, Kenton, about the 0 fees. What I was thinking, pragmatic, when I mentioned you, is like, if you did that with Rujira, and I think that's fine, but it would just be the same thing underneath, but it'd just be a reskinned version, right? It would just be a THORChain skin superimposed over the Rujira thing. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Not necessarily like I'm sending people to Rujira, if that makes sense, because it doesn't matter the landing page, right? It's just how it works, and if it has the branding. Well, it does matter. I'm sorry, I misspoke. But it doesn't matter what's underneath the surface, is what I meant to say. Well, I was, if we did a front end and you had 30 basis points fee that was competed, what if all that fee went to go buy TCY? What about that? That just came to my mind when you were talking. Like, maybe that'd be a good way. Also, like if all the affiliate, if we had a 30 basis affiliate fee, and every day whatever it made, it went and helped made, it bought TCY and maybe sent to the module. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Maybe there's an angle there as well. And then that way, not only are we marketing THORChain, the protocol is making more in fees and node operators, LPs and stuff, but then also we're helping to like shore up our foundation and help fix the previous problems with Thor5. Anyone want to, maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know. Does anyone see a problem with that?
Well, I think the money should go towards marketing. The best marketing for TCY is the price going up. And the way we get the TCY price going up is volume, right? Yield. And so I think that whatever profit is made off a THORChain website should go towards, like, just constantly reinvest in marketing. Like, we have to keep the message out there consistent, just keep pumping that out there and driving users to the site.
Okay, I just want to clarify something. So in this example, when I was thinking that, my idea is we either allocated part of the burn part to the marketing and the interface is separate, but I don't see a reason why you couldn't also make that a part of marketing too. If the interface came out, yeah, that actually might work, right? Because then you have a marketing fund. And then, okay, who controls? Okay, so then nodes would then have, well, how's the governance work on that? You'd have to have the nodes determine. I'm baking here in my mind. I'm sorry, guys, for the pause. So yeah, how would you do that? Can you give me an idea how that would work? Do you have that thought out?
If we had a portion of revenue going towards the website,
and yeah, well, you have an interface that's THORChain specific, affiliate fee, and then we have money going to marketing. I know you, let's be real, Kenton, you're the marketing guy. I think everyone who wants marketing is fully comfortable with you trying it out. But let's say you drown scuba diving, something terrible, you hit by a bus, right? Like how is the funds allocated to marketing? Like, or maybe someone better comes by, I'm not trying to be rude, but you see what I'm saying? Like, how does that work?
Well, first off, I think it would be either or. Either there's an affiliate fee on the front end, and that is what funds marketing, or well, I guess you could do both. Have a percentage of revenue go towards marketing. I do think a percentage of revenue should be dedicated towards marketing. Basically, just like pay-per-view ads, like just trying to drive traffic to the site. This is another reason for having our own website. Like, then we can track the traffic. Like, what are the ads, which ones are working, which one is bringing users to THORChain, what are they doing on our website? We can track all of that stuff, right? If we got to send people to Trust Wallet in their app or to Ledger, like, we don't know what they're doing on Ledger Live. Like, we can't track that. And this is what's really frustrating when people are against marketing. I think everyone has like different ideas of what marketing means. When I say marketing, I do not mean the Thor truck. That's fun, you guys, great. But I mean, that is so far downstream on marketing. Like, that is the last thing we should be doing. When I say marketing, I'm referring more to sales. We need to have an automated sales force, like automated, like sending out, paying to get the THORChain name out there, and have a call to action. Like, oh, you want to swap Bitcoin? Go to THORChain.com. Go do it here, right? And then if we find a message that works, then we amplify it, right? Then that's when you spend more money. Okay, this is working. We're gonna spend more money on that. But it's a lot of trial and error. You got to figure it out. You get highs and lows. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it doesn't. But the idea of marketing where you put your name on a truck it's so nebulous. Like there's no way to measure that. You don't know the conversion. I think it's great in the grand scheme of things, but I don't think that's not where we start. That's like the later stage of marketing, where THORChain is huge, we're big, and we have a real brand. Everyone knows about us, and we want to maintain that brand awareness. That THORChain is everywhere. You can't escape it, and we're just in the front of people's minds. So does that answer your question? I don't know if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just, I'm just trying to figure out the way to, I mean, there's so many ways you go. I mean, the idea wins, right? The idea wins no matter which way you do it. I'm just trying to think of what is the most optimal win, right? If you go to marketing, or if you go to buy just TCY, or maybe it's just it's a combination. Is the 5% burn, keep that, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
The best thing for TCY is THORChain growing. It's that simple. So you want to benefit TCY, benefit THORChain, grow THORChain. And, we got to sell THORChain. We got to promote it, market it, get it out there, get users. That will benefit TCY.
Yeah, but it's almost like a double win, right? Like it'd be, it doesn't have to forever be that way. It could just be a temporary measure, beginning, because if someone swaps on this interface, those fees are going to TCY holders, but then also the affiliate fees also going to help buy TCY. Basically it's just like a supercharged attempt in my mind, just trying to help that, remediate that situation. Orion, did you have any thoughts?
I think you're kind of going backwards, Patriot. If we're having success driving users to the website, we should take that money generated from the website to go get more users and compound the number of users. This is the engine. If you find a message that works, you can spend X and earn Y. You leverage that up with as much money as possible. You don't stop and then send the money somewhere else.
Right.
So yeah,
I agree with what you're saying. The thing in my mind, I'm sorry I'm not being clear. It's just contingent on whether or not, if the 5% burn stays as it is, right, then yes, you have to have money going to marketing. That would be the interface's place. If we were to switch the burn to like a marketing or whatever, then the marketing aspect is still winning, because you are getting people to the interface as well, and 5% of the fees accrued by the protocol is going to marketing anyway. It's not but it's not as strong as a leverage up. So I understand what you're saying. So that's kind of where my mind's going. I'm totally me. I definitely want to do marketing. Like I'm just chomping at the bit to do marketing 100%.
Hey guys, I only have 10 more minutes left, so I thought maybe we could pivot the conversation to growing revenue for THORChain. Kenton
and Ryan,
Patriot,
can I sorry to interrupt you? Can you also talk about why THORChain is quoting so low? Why are others beating us in the quotes? Can you go over that with us too?
Yeah. So just really quick, Kenton's referring to when you compare quotes against all of the other providers out there, where does THORChain sit and why? So the main considerations here are liquidity, the way that quoting works across different venues, and also just on THORChain in particular, what are the pool ratios at the time of the quote? And then also what's the available ARB inventory on THORChain in order to deliver the best execution. So at the first bit on the liquidity side, THORChain is dependent on what the pools are at any given point in time. In compared to other venues, like a centralized venue, they have access to the liquidity immediately. Whereas on THORChain that needs to get streamed over time. Other venues have just-in-time liquidity that allows them to give much tighter spreads, but then they suffer from availability. So it's a bit more volatile in terms of what the execution quality is. And then on the quoting side, like THORChain and Maya use the same logic there. Others are more optimistic in terms of how they quote, so they might have a wider range in terms of what they could actually deliver. THORChain has done a lot of work to make the quote endpoint as accurate as possible by simulating the swap through. Others have chosen to kind of not be as disciplined there and just be a bit more optimistic in terms of what they think they can quote for. And then the other side of all of this is just that, is there sufficient inventory on THORChain in trade assets that can satisfy large streaming swaps over time? What we've seen in the past is that there might be a very large BTC to ETH swap, for example, and if ARBs run out of inventory, then that execution quality suffers. So guaranteeing, or not guaranteeing, but working, ARBs working to make sure that they have inventory available will definitely help THORChain win more quotes because it means that there's better execution for these larger and higher value swaps for us. Yeah, so those are all of the moving pieces there, but just real quick, because I only have 8 minutes left here. Kenton, you had also wanted to discuss ADR20, which is setting the app layer norms. I just wanted to hit on a important framing of app layer and THORChain base layer, that I think of this as a single economic entity. Like THORChain is a decentralized, as THORChain has a decentralized business, and the collective goal of all of the stakeholders is to grow revenue for that business. And I know that there's been a lot of different discussion around how does the app layer function. Yeah, and I think that the important takeaway for me is that THORChain is competing against Binance, not necessarily having like internal competition to try to fight over a smaller pie. And at the end of the day, we need to grow the pie, and the way that we can do that is by being focused and building out the very best products on the app layer that can serve users. I know there's been a lot of others have some thoughts there, so I'll stop there.
Yeah, I want to maybe, before we get into that, I think others might want to speak about the THORChain front end, but I just want to say, the way I hear you, understand you, that's basically the same argument for THORChain having its own website. If we're just going to have Rujira and that's the only app layer product, that's the same argument for having a THORChain front end. Like we want to focus our efforts on that THORChain front end and not be spread around, because like you said, our competition is Binance. Binance is one website, right? So I feel like that justifies the THORChain front end as well. Do you want to get going, Ryan? Do you want anything to add, or do you mind if we keep seeing if anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Pragmatic.
I was just like, maybe let's speak a bit more about ADR20, where we still have Orion, and then you can move back to the front ends. But I think it's all come down to the long debate we had a few weeks back, where effectively there are two competing visions for the app layer. One where which was the vision I was really trying to push when we had this space with you, Kenton, and Boone as well, on competition, where I really see this Rujira and the app layer as an extension of the capability THORChain can do, and we operate as one unit competing against the outside world. And then what you were pushing for is instead having this almost like a permissionless, or eventually a permissionless app layer, where you get ton of internal competition. And that's, I think, very much where Orion wanted to touch. I think him and I were totally aligned on the vision. But maybe we don't need to spend too much time actually on that, because we have discussed it a lot. And I don't know if you have seen the latest wording GP suggested, but I quite like it because it opens the door to both options. So instead of choosing now whether in 12 months, or actually way less than 12 months, but whether whenever the exclusivity period is over for Rujira, instead of saying, oh, then we cut the fee split and we open the competition to anyone. We keep the option to have two track, one where we will let actually have a node vote at this point in time to decide whether we want to continue based on the success and other things that have been happening on Rujira. Do we want to continue this tight relationship as it is, and maybe keep the fee 50-50 for a bit longer, and don't open up for competition, or do we want to reduce the fee and open the competition? And I think that's actually probably the best path forward, because it doesn't force anything of any people in any camp, any decision to be made while we don't have much data to decide anyway, and keep flexibility for later.
Yeah, I think that's, if there's any, like, it's been frustrating talking about this ADR20, because like I'm trying to understand, and I feel like the reason why I think we're on such different pages, I don't understand it the same way you do. I'm not saying you're wrong, or that I'm right, or that I'm wrong and you're right. Like I think I'm understanding it differently. So that's why we're having a hard time agreeing. So yeah, like if the idea of Ruji is just we're just gonna have Ruji, we're just gonna have these smart contracts and nothing else, then like I get it that we should leave this fair split at 50%, and that's it. We're just moving with Ruji, and maybe that is the way to go. Like I'm talking about having a THORChain only front end. If my vision of a THORChain front end works, and maybe like half the flows on THORChain are coming from our own front end, and so maybe it is good to just have Ruji. But I guess for me, where I'm hung up, and I don't know if I'm wrong, but in my mind, the way I view app layer is like I'm viewing it like Ethereum, like anybody can come build, and the only reason THORChain's app layer, there's smart contract layer, is permissioned is just so we can get our fee, right? So we avoid any like L2s cannibalizing the fees on us. So it's just to get our pound of flesh, just to get our tax. And so in my mind, app layer, the smart contract layer on THORChain, is going to be this huge, vibrant ecosystem with like thousands of different contracts, thousands of different teams all competing and innovating and whatever with each other. But if that is not the vision of app layer, that is not what it should be. And it should just be, no, we just want one team to focus and do that and just grow that, then I understand. So maybe that's like, am I wrong in my view of app layer? Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe I can jump in here. Sorry, guys, I was just out. But JP and I spoke about this at length, even before we spoke to Rujira and the whole history there. And it's a little bit like discussing the classic Android versus iPhone or iOS debate. And really where we settle on is the app layer on THORChain is going to be equivalent to iOS and the iPhone. When you buy an iPhone, you have pre-installed applications, which you would expect from a quality smartphone. The Android version has been tried in crypto, and there are vibrant communities, ecosystems out there, Ethereum, Solana, etc. We see a much higher likelihood of building a sort of iOS version of crypto with stellar, world-class pre-installed applications. And to answer on your point, Kenton, about thousands of contracts, we can still do that. The iPhone also has an app store. We will have many, many, many builders building contracts on top of the core products that is pre-installed on the app layer, if you will. So I don't see the argument, to be honest, that we can't have both. We're scaling out the core team, of course, to advance the core products. But one of the roles that both PM and I have more and more, and there will be more to the team, is to onboard a ton of builders who wants to come over. The list is quite long. We're plowing through it. But yeah, having multiple, like thousands of contracts on Rujira is certainly going to be possible. One doesn't exclude the other.
Orion, I want to make sure you have a chance to speak. I know you have to go soon. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thanks guys. And I think Kenton, just to your question in terms of what the difference is, I think of it as like a difference of scale. You know, like we have, like Ethereum and Solana have scale, so they can support a huge variety of different projects building effectively the same thing. Whereas, you know, THORChain just doesn't have that scale. And so we have to leverage what we do have, which is focus and distribution. And that's the big thing in my mind, is that if we can, rather than building many versions of the same thing, let's build, like Mark was saying, the world-class version of product X, Y, or Z. And then we can collectively work together to improve that. I think that there's this, like L1s have taken this path where, you know, you deploy your app and, you know, it's all permissionless and great, but it's really up to that team to kind of grow and maintain the project, or it can expire. But I think here we have the opportunity to like all rally behind specific apps and continue to help them grow and improve. They're not going to be a stale thing, and that then we can really start to drive the economic activity through THORChain that you know, we all need. So that's the big thing in my mind, is like we don't have the scale, so we need to focus. But yeah, I have to hop. This has been great, and take care, everybody.
Thank you, Orion.
Thanks, Orion. And maybe when Orion leaves, PM or Mark, you can answer this. But when Orion says we don't have the scale, what he's referring to is we only have so much room for secured assets right now, right? Is that what he means? Like we only have so much room for TVL?
Yeah,
I think
it's more on the
just
builder
a
side.
matter of security. It's also a matter of funding. Like honestly, like we cannot compete in terms of funding and size of team with Solana or Ethereum. Like it's just different scales.
Yeah, I think that's for sure. But also on the builder side of things, we rely on CosmWasm. We're nowhere near at the scale of the EVM and the SVM. Maybe we'll get there. So to your point, Kenton, once we have this world-class ecosystem, we have more builders coming in. The plan originally, let's see how everything pans out, but the plan was to gradually become more and more permissionless, but there's a lot of ifs on that path, right? Maybe we'll never get there because Ethereum and Solana will just be way ahead and it doesn't make sense for us to do so. Or we get there and it makes total sense for us to open up and become more and more permissionless. But I think really it comes down to what makes most sense now. And for sure, I think the approach that we're taking is maximizing the likelihood of Rujira and the app layer and THORChain accumulating a lot of users, a lot of volume, a lot of fees, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think one thing you were saying is the only reason it's permissioned is so THORChain can collect its fee. But I think there is a second reason, which is curation, effectively, to come back to what Mark was saying about iOS. It's also a way to differentiate the fact that we can offer, which was the Rujira vision, by the way, offering one consistent ecosystem with one united brands, with all the app available from the same UI, fully integrated, all together, both in the UI but also in the way they work, and offering this one. You are talking of call to action and sending people to one place, but while offering this one URL, one place to send people to is I think powerful versus having like a permissionless, chaotic EVM style app layer, where at the end, you get a ton of competition, but nobody, like you don't get Ethereum pushing any user into one specific apps, and it's really like a much more of a far west, chaotic landscape where everything keeps getting fragmented. And by the way, I'm not like we had this discussion already. I think I made the case where we were trying to make here last time of this vision of having this economic block alignments trying to compete versus external forces, Binance and other Solana EVMs and L1 blockchains. But I think the current setup anyway solves that, because we don't have to make any decision now. We have the exclusivity for 12 months anyway, so we can prove that out, show that we can actually build very good products, attract user, and grow revenue for THORChain via the revenue splits. And then in 12 months, we can rediscuss whether we want to actually relax that, lower the revenue split, and open up competition, or keep things as they are, because it has been good, and we think we can do still much more to continue growing the pie.
Yeah, I do get that. I appreciate that vision, you guys. It's like I don't know if you're history buffs or not, or anything, but apparently, like when the Europeans settled North America, the natives could have easily fended them off, but they're too busy fighting with each other. And Europeans took advantage of that and settled the land. So I get it. I think that's the analogy you're using. Is it like, instead of having all these little apps fighting with each other, let's all work together and fend off Binance and Coinbase. So that I get that. That makes sense. The one thing I'm just a little. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just putting this out there. But like what if Rujira, what if you guys aren't delivering? What if it's not working? And then, how do we, THORChain has this great app layer, this great potential, but then it's like, well, how do we, sorry guys, it's not, you're not delivering. We want to open it up to another team who potentially they can deliver. It's business, right? If we,
of course.
yeah.
And on that, I think like no offense taken, by the way. And there are several teams building different things. For example, I was saying like I'm part of the Rujira team. We are not involved with perps. We could totally see a future where whether it's worst case scenario, you have somewhere in May next year would be the 12 months end of the 12 months period as defined currently in ADR20, and then we can just if the THORChain community, the nodes, believe we haven't been doing a good job and competition is needed, and then we can just open up competition to pretty much everyone and lower the fee, and that's one way. Or even potentially before that, we have several teams building here. We have different toolings and view and way of so the Rujira team. We have quite a lot of different. We have the wider range of core primitives, and the beauty of controlling the full stack is that they can really work very well together, much more like much deeper than when you build different pieces by different team and then you try to compose them, but it wasn't thought from the start to be composed together, which is how it is on Ethereum or Solana. Everything is open source and everything is composable, but there is not an architectural view of how this is all going to be composed together. Like so sometimes most of the time it's suboptimal and you cannot do as much as what we could do. And all what I'm trying to say here is that we have some very good primitives inside what we are building with the Rujira team. And we could, if we see one product failing, we could actually try to also internally build a better version of it. So that's something also to consider. Like even before opening up the competition in 12 months, we may also have a path to identify if some product at least are not delivering to the expectation and act on that inside our economic unit, our monolithic economic unit, THORChain plus Rujira.
That'll be your motivation to maintain the non-compete. Basically, you guys gotta stay agile. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if we see we are not delivering or one product is underperforming, we can just iterate and do it again better. Like that's how this word game works. So it's and worst case, like again, that's just till May next year, and then if by May next year. So I think that's why at the end of this conversation now, I think we are in agreement with the current wording in ADR20. But yeah, just to say that even during the non-compete, innovation can still happen and iteration can still happen, and we can improve.
And with the non-compete thing, like for me, what triggered me is like, fuck, like I don't want to play patent office as a node operator. I want to be getting into debate. Well, this app is too much like mine, and he's copying this and that, and it's not different, and it's it's the same, and what like. I don't want that cognitive burden on node operators. We have to prove the contracts, right? We have
but on the current given how currently things are set up, you don't have to do that. Like we, the Rujira team, are the one effectively triaging and vetting the project. The case where this will happen will be if we relax security and we allow competition. Then we are not going to be the one orchestrating and reviewing competing products. So then that will be on node operators if there is still some sort of permission happening. But in the current setup, node operators are not like you just have to vote on validating an address that can be deployed. And given we have this tight relationship, but we have already proven our worth by building all those primitives on the base layer to allow the app layer to flourish. And we have now started to build this first product and generating some revenue. I think there is enough trust that you're happy to continue delegating to us the process of vetting which team can effectively be allowed to deploy smart contracts.
I'm going to jump in real quick, and I know we have Khal and Coke with their hands up. I think it might could be glitching. So thank you guys for your patience. I want to steal, man. I think just so everyone understands, like Kenton's like just trying to make sure that the potential is not limited and that we're not like artificially capping, the growth or anything like that. The thing that I just want to back up a little bit here, because I've heard a few times that people use the phrase that Rujira is going to have a monopoly. Right. And I that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Not just because the fact they have 50% revenue share, but for my mind, how a monopoly works is you have a service, product, etc. And you're the only one provided. So you have no competition anxiety. That doesn't exist here. Because I do agree with Pragmatic Monkey and Orion and Mark that we are essentially competing against centralized exchanges. And so basically for Kenton's vision, how I see it, it's like you want to have this system where it's just winner meritocracy driven, this hyper competition that makes the best product that provides a good service. I think Kenton's standard is already met though, because you have to zoom out. I think it might be a inaccuracy. It's not, the first principles are solid, but I think it's an inaccuracy to expect that for the app layer when that already exists for the greater industry, the greater market itself, all blockchains, all cryptocurrencies. That's already the Wild West of innovation. So we already have there. What I like to think of it as is Rujira and THORChain are like a company, okay? And we are essentially competing. And given, I think Pragmatic Monkey, I think you said there's something like 40-something teams that are at least currently in talks. So the amount of teams that are going to be on the app layer is already huge. In fact, I sent one from the XRP community to the Rujira account as well. That's just one I found. I said, hey, you guys have building something. You should reach out to Rujira guys. So I think there's already going to be huge amounts of competition. And the beautiful thing is, because there is competition anxiety, if some part of Rujira is not going up to steam, is not living up to their potential, then that's when you throw the hammer down and say, you guys are not delivering a competent product relative to the greater market. You either got to fix your shit or you got to go. And I think that works. Again, I think both visions, there's some merit there, but I think it's more accurate to unify, because the developers on the Rujira side, I mean, some of the most incredible people I've ever come to know. I really think the community, there's a huge market premium to having an incredibly aligned and strong unified community between us. I would be worried to lose that. I do want to throw it to Khal, but since I did talked about Kenton, I'll sling it to you, Kenton, and then maybe we go to Khal if you have any thoughts on what I said there.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So my view of app layer is that, like, why not have 10 different Ruji teams developing on it? Like, why just have one? And that's where my confusion comes from. So that's all. Like, doesn't mean I don't want Ruji or like them or anything like that. Like, this is freaking awesome. Like, their token killing it is like, that's really good for us for THORChain. Like that's a huge, vote of confidence for what they're doing on top of THORChain. And so in my mind, that's like fantastic marketing for other teams to come build on app layer. So that's where I guess my confusion comes from, is like, why would THORChain not want other teams like Ruji coming to build and do stuff on app layer? So yeah, that's
I think the view here is really like you can look at things at two different zoom level, and the zoom level you are looking at it is then like you see THORChain as a closed ecosystem effectively, and the competition happen internally, and instead of having the focus on trying to grow THORChain as a unit in a bigger ecosystem which compete with Binance, with Coinbase, with Base, with Ethereum and Solana, you create a system where the focus is really, here is our little bubble, it's THORChain, and then let's try to build, like, to attract, to compete with all those other layer ones that are all doing pretty much the same thing, and let's do that as well. Let's have 10 different teams doing the same thing, and let them compete and see if something great come out of that, and by chance end up taking some market share from those other external player. But the focus is really inwards, whereas the vision Patriot is pushing for, and I think Orion, Mark, and myself are having, is much more of we are one economic unit itself, trying to lose focus and have to compete like internally and just try to steal each other market share in an overall very small liquidity environment. Let's just try to make the best out of this economic unit, and the competition we look at and where we focus our efforts is to take this market share from the external player, so our centralized exchange and those other layer ones. And I think that's the difference. And we have, as the Rujira community, a strong, I think, sense of how this, it doesn't look like it's a thing till you experience it. And we have experienced it firsthand, because when we were Rujira, when we were our own little layer one blockchain, we were in this ecosystem Cosmos. And man, it was horrible, because it was, at the end, it was similar to THORChain. Like, it was in terms of scale, like a small ecosystem with maybe a total of 200, 300 million TVL, depending on how crypto market we're doing. But so compared to Solana and Ethereum, it was peanuts. And instead of trying, we had this great tech, which is Cosmosm, which allows us to do like very good products compared to what you can do with Solidity or with a virtual machine on Solana. But instead of like trying to grow the pie together, it was like a cutthroat environment, like very, very toxic, where we're just all trying to take each other TVL, and it was zero net growth of this ecosystem. Actually, it was shrinking and shrinking over time, to the point that today, the ecosystem, you can say that pretty much Cosmos has failed. The ICF, the foundation that was funding the Cosmos ecosystem, is pulling out of Cosmosm. Now they are going to try to do EVM things, trying to save with some magic this ecosystem by killing the biggest differentiator it has versus EVM, which was the tech stack. And all what we have seen in the past 3 years was TVL going down and down, even when crypto markets were bouncing back. So what we want to avoid is getting again in this situation where we end up having all our focus in our tiny little microcosm, and just trying to compete, to take each other users in the same space, instead of trying to go outside and take it from the big boys.
I think I'm starting to understand. So, like, there is advantages to centralization. You get economies of scale, you get better organized, you get speed. Decentralization is just great for security. So if what I'm starting to understand or hear from you guys is that basically Ruji is like, in order to compete with the centralized players, we have to have centralized app layer so that we can pool our resources, work together, have the economies of scale, have the speed, have the quality. We're going to fight fire with fire, centralized versus centralized. Is that kind of
Well,
the way to look at it?
Decentralization is a spectrum. Like it's not even like it's kind of is, but it's also important to remember that Rujira itself is decentralized in the sense like it's not just us. Like of course we have the core team which is mostly built around the Kujira team, but we also got like Levana, we got Fusion, and we got the Wing team that are building inside the Rujira Alliance and a few others. But then we got all these other builders. You got the Nami, the Auto Kujira guys, the Liquidity guys. I see Jan on the call. And a lot of other projects that also don't even have a token, but that are building on top or planning to build on top of those applications. And we coordinate all together. Like a big part of my job is I speak with all those builders. And when we speak, it's not just like a high level stuff. Like we go into deeps. We plan how can we find the best way to work together. We scope out stuff like things we need, like for example, like currently I'm working with the Auto Rujira guys to try to create this framework to allow to onboard third-party strategies so they can create vaults like on a Hyperliquid, when then a manager can come, have a sort of API key and take user deposits in a non-custodial way, and then they can trade and do a sort of strategy and just focus on the strategy and create volumes on Rujira. So this is not being built by us directly. It's going to be built by them. You have like Nami team at the moment. They are working now on a market making strategy, the unificator strategy that will allow us to abstract away the concept of having all those different USDC version, depending on which chain are connected to THORChain, and focus everything once you get on the app layer into the is.USDC version. And this will allow us to do like fairly very large actually swap volumes of stables at very, very competitive price. We are like working with Liquidity DAO. So they are the one, for example, who put together the dashboard. So that was Jan, allowing to track revenue at the moment, just as a short split, but helping us because we are all like part of the same family, and they are gonna build the smart router that will be like effectively looking at all the different order books on Kujira and splitting the route to allow anyone to swap from any token to any other token and get the best possible quote by splitting and capturing any arbitrage that exists between the order books. So what I'm saying is Rujira itself is not a centralized one team. It's a combination of team with a broader ecosystem around it of people that build on top of the core primitive. So it's and we want to onboard much more of that. So it's not like saying it's fully centralized, and it's not actually the case. What we just want to avoid is competing apps doing the same stuff, competing core primitives effectively. That's it.
One thing the goal into my mind here, and I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna kick it to Khal because he's been very patient. The one thing that comes to my mind is I'm a non-developer, and so in the spirit, I agree. Like I just want the maximum amount of competition, but at the same time, I do know in my back of my mind that Code Hans and many others have been working on THORChain code for months and months and months, and they understand it on a very deep and intimate level now that honestly no one else can know, because THORChain's Cosmos chain, but it's also been modified so friggin' heavily. There's so many nuances in the code. So I get scared if we have a lot of competing apps, if they are validating or doing things that end up rugging users. And maybe like the play on words just coming to my head here is like we're not diluting the pollution, right? There's no dilution of pollution, and we're actually inviting pollution in. And it's just because like it's so merit based when it comes to the code, right? If they build a primitive that does that could have reputational harm, I think. So I mean, it's a complicated thing, and it's beyond my understanding because I don't have that expertise. But that's just what my gut says. I'll kick it to you, Khal. Thank you for being so patient.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't want to take away from the conversation about Ruji. But I was going to jump in earlier related to the interface stuff. So I don't know if you guys want to switch topics or finish out what
you
you're
can,
doing.
I mean, you waited. You go ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it quick too. But you know, I've obviously been following this interface conversation for a while. My feelings about it are a little bit mixed, but you know, where I've kind of landed on is I'd rather have, you know, THORChain core focus on making, you know, THORChain swaps as efficient and fast as possible. And I'd rather have the Ruji team focused on making the app layer, you know, as great as possible and bring us the features, you know, like perps that have a lot bigger promise than I think, you know, to be honest, an interface would have. So, you know, my thought is, and I started working on this with my devs a few days ago when I posted the tweet, but my thought is if we can essentially like donate a UI to at least test, you know, an experiment with this, you know, in the real environment and see, you know, if you guys are right, maybe, you know, having a unified UI with low or zero fees would actually have a positive impact. So I'd say probably by the end of the weekend, you know, maybe early next week, my team is going to put out a UI that is essentially like a THORChain skin. And it's going to have, this is kind of evolved, but we're going to have zero fees. But I actually got a DM from Wolf, the Wolf of DeFi. And he gave me a good idea. You know, what we're going to have is essentially where the user can input what fee they want to pay. So they can input both the amount of the fee and they can input what they want the fee to get used for. So a few ideas that kind of got pinged back and forth were, you know, you could have a small fee that gets paid to LeoDex, which is, you know, funding our obviously ability to develop. And then, you know, another option would be the fee could go to, you know, TCY, for example. I know that's been talked about. And then, you know, another fee could go to marketing. And, you know, the way that marketing would work is essentially like a designated address where, you know, I don't know if people want to do multi-sig or something. But that's kind of the idea, you know, in broad strokes, is that it would allow the user to decide, I want to pay this much in fees, and maybe it's zero, right? They can say they want to pay nothing. And then they can decide where they want that fee to go to, essentially like a donation.
Okay, so first off, thank you for showing some that's why I love this community. It's so proactive. So if anyone wants to make a front end for THORChain that's zero fees, go ahead. I think that's great. There is just a little bit of a can of worms here that really scares me, and it's not necessarily to you, Khal, or LeoDex, but really it'd be all interfaces in general. Is that this interface that we want to make? We want to market it, okay? And so when we do that, we have to select a interface to market. We have to select a point of contact, and which means money is going to be invested to promote it. So really what I think it scares me to have, and again, please don't take this the wrong way, it's just the first principles of my mind, to have a team that's already an interface help with the development of something that we're going to market, right? Because then that could be viewed as somewhat like a preferential treatment kind of thing. And I think other interfaces, it just seems like a can of worms that could open. You see what I'm saying? And that's what really scares me, because I just want, for me, because I'm spending my own time and energy just trying to promote THORChain, and it's so hard for me to do that. It's so hard to do that, to do it in a way that I maintain try to maintain an ethical standard, because, you know, should I promote you? Should I promote someone else? So I really don't like the idea of like a fee being on there going back to any team that's already an interface, because then there's a conflict of interest there, right? And I know you're not coming from that position, but it doesn't matter what we're coming from. It's the impression, right? And how people interpret that. So that's what scares me. I could be totally off there, but those are the red flags in the back of my head. And again, I hope you're not taking that personally, but that's my fear.
Yeah, no, I don't take it personally at all. I think it's good. You know, I'm a big believer in just putting things out and experimenting and seeing, you know, what the market decides. And, you know, I guess my point here would be that it would be more, you know, let's put this thing out there and see if you guys are right, because I think a lot of people think that you're wrong. you know, and a lot of people think you're right. From what I've seen, it's almost a 50-50 split. And to be honest, you know, I don't want to see THORChain Core say, okay, well, let's, you know, I mean, the biggest pushback on this idea is, well, who's going to make this UI? And more importantly, who's going to maintain it? Because, you know, building a UI is like 10% of the work. The real work is maintaining it. You know, there's, especially in this industry, there's so many changes that happen, not only with, you know, THORChain Core itself, but with all the different chains that are supported. You know, and RPCs are going down regularly. You know, it's the amount of maintenance that goes into something like this, I think, is a little understated. So I guess my thought would be, you know, put this out there. It's not branded, you know, Leodex, you know, is the idea I'm coming from, and let the user decide. You know, they can pay 0 fees to anybody. And, you know, obviously that means that no affiliate fees is taken, or they can choose to donate the fee to a marketing fund, or donate it to TCY, or, you know, donate it to whoever's maintaining the UI. At least it's just one idea I'd like to experiment with,
Right,
rather than distract THORChain Core.
well, here's what I'm thinking, right? So this is what's the great thing about Memoless is very simple, and it's THORChain specific, right? Because you as an interface, and all the other interfaces are listening now, are going to listen to the recording, you guys are trying to provide additional services on top of what THORChain can offer natively, which is great. You know what I mean? You're trying to provide the best service for your customers. And that's why I think the Memoless thing is so great if it comes out as soon as possible, because that requires very little maintenance, hardly at all, and is specifically THORChain volume, right? And at that point, like I think it was Scorch, right, Kenton, that came up with the idea that we then could then make it where people can have a thing where they can make their own Memoless interface and show it to their like individual communities, and that just helps proliferate. And so there's two, and if you do that, there's a good bifurcation between the interface that is that would be called THORChain Central, and the interfaces that also promote THORChain but also offer additional services. Because you're right, what you guys do on Leodex and all the other interfaces is so much work to maintain it. I think the winning proposition here is to have an interface that's THORChain that takes advantage of the Memoless technology, and therefore is really simple, and also doesn't cut into what the interfaces are providing additional on top of THORChain.
Yeah, I just want to add something or comment to what you said, Khal. Like, I think people are putting the cart before the horse, or they're getting too far ahead in their thinking, saying, well, I don't want a website because I don't want 9 realms to work on it. I said, well, wait a second, well, just slow down. First, we decide, is a website a good idea? Should we do it? You know, how do we value, you know, put some kind of value on it? Okay, we should do it. It could be worth, you know, X. So we should only spend Y. Well, we don't want to take away 9 realms time, right? Doesn't make sense. You know, how do we do this, right? And so by saying, you know, so we can look for another team, other people, like, you know, that's just part of the figuring things out, right? So to immediately jump to think, oh, 9 realms has to do this. It's like, well, no, like, slow down a bit. I've got a team in my DMs. They're saying they'll convert their site to THORChain only and support it and run it. Boom, there's our people. Now the question is going to be the price, right? We're probably pretty far apart on price. You know, maybe we can't come to an agreement on terms, but boom, there's team. Brand new, they have an existing site, they've already built it, they've already know how to run it, they're already supporting it. There's no extra, not taking anything away from 9 realms. The only question is just how much does it cost? How much do we pay them? You know, so, you know, this is what I'm saying about problems become opportunities, right? And so this front end saw this as an opportunity. Hey, maybe this is a way, you know, we can get paid. So, yeah.
Right. So what would be the difference between that and, you know, what I described, where it would cost $0 to THORChain, and you've got the UI?
You literally said it yourself. Making the UI is 10% of the work. 90% is supporting it and maintaining it. Like, we need people.
Right.
This website's got to be killer, right? We can't have any bugs. We can't
sure.
just sit there and nobody manage it. Like, it's got to be sharp. It's got to be awesome. It's got to be, you know, everything, right? Because that's our brand. That's what we're putting out there to the world. So we definitely need somebody to take care of it. Like, like, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not trying to say this is, oh, let's just, go get a WordPress template and, $20 in GoDaddy and, we're done. Like, I get it, guys. This is going to require some work and some people to take care of it. But we don't need to immediately jump to the conclusion it's just 9 realms. Like, why can't we hire other people to do it?
Yeah, well, and maybe, I didn't describe the idea well enough, but what our idea is essentially a fork of LeoDex that runs off the same core code base. So essentially we're maintaining it. It costs nothing to THORChain because we've already built it. We already have the whole UI. We just support other routes on our main UI. We strip away all the extra features, so it literally focuses on base layer THORChain swaps, and that's it. And then you essentially have, like I said, if the user wants to pay a fee, they decide how much they want to pay, and then they can decide who they want to pay that fee to. And essentially what we're getting at is, if we launch this thing and people start using it, it may earn $0, and that's fine. I mean, we're maintaining our core code base anyways, so it costs us nothing to continue to maintain it. And then if people do, essentially decide to donate, whether they donate to, our development or donate to, TCY or donate to some designated marketing fund, it doesn't really matter. We're not doing this so that we can earn anything. My goal with this is just to keep, THORChain core from being distracted, or from THORChain having to pay $100,000 to build a UI, but more importantly, how much you pay to maintain that. So that's kind of where my idea is coming from. And, the selfish benefit for me is, we're a relatively new UI, and having people use our code base so that we can get feedback and continue to make it better, is kind of a selfish reason for me to do this. So that's just where I'm coming from, is like, I agree with what you said. It doesn't have to be 9 realms, and I don't think it should be. But my argument would be, rather than have, someone get paid a ton of money to do this and maintain it, basically just have a team like mine. And I don't care if it's us or someone else. I just thought of this idea and figured, what the hell, it cost me 2 days worth of development to do this and at least experiment with it. Why not just put it out there and see what happens, essentially?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. So like, what if this THORChain front end actually works, and it's like, 100 times the volume that you see on LeoDex? Would you start to feel like butthurt, basically? Like, oh man, I'm helping support this front end, that's all this volume is going there, and I'm like, we're not, it's not, there's only so often so much volunteer work you can do before you start feeling taken advantage of.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good question. And I mean, first of all, I'm a rune holder. I kind of got into all this because I've been, holding rune for so many years. But, I just want THORChain to succeed, really, at the end of the day. That being said, I'm not going to lie and say that I don't want, the products I'm building to be, extremely successful too. The way I look at this is kind of similar to, if you guys are familiar with Costco, essentially a loss leader. Like, when you're building a business, especially an early one, I mean, today LeoDex has done like $24,000 in volume. So relative to what's out there, we are not even a pea being dropped in the ocean. The way I look at this is, the universe is extremely karmic, right? Like, if we do this, it is really successful, and we see, say, $10 million a day getting swapped through this THORChain branded front end, and let's say that nobody is choosing the option to essentially donate any portion of the affiliate fee to us. I still see it as good branding for LeoDex at the end of the day, because while this is a THORChain branded front end, at least the core THORChain community knows who's building it, who's investing their resources in it, and in my mind, it's doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And if there is a positive karma that comes along with that, then so be it.
Wow, that's awesome. I think it's a great attitude. The other thing I just want to kind of add to this is that, like, I think a lot of the some people that are against the THORChain front end are assuming it's going to be like flooded with volume and activity. And guys, I actually think it's going to be the opposite problem. We might, we create our own front end, and it could very well fall flat and nobody's using it. And then we're gonna get all kinds of criticism. Oh, you wasted this time and money, and what are you doing? It's stupid. Like that's my concern with this, is that, you know, it's hard to get users, right? You said lately you did 24 grand of volume today. Like it's hard to get users, you know, and you can't. And the idea of competing on price is wrong. I mean, how many front ends have offered 0% fees and not got any users? So like it's hard. Like this is where the value comes in a business, is getting customers, getting users. It's hard. And so I hope people understand that having a THORChain front end doesn't instantly mean we're going to get, you know, $10 million a day in volume type thing. Like we're going to have to grow it. It's going to be tough. You know, we have to market and promote it and get out there and tell people about it. Like it's not, you know, it's going to, you know, it could take, you know, a year to get, you know, some decent volume on it. Who knows? But at least we have something to market. So I just wanted to bring that up about fees. Like if, you know, whatever the fees are, I honestly don't think that their front ends have to worry too much, because people get used to what they're using and then they stick with it. It's kind of going off topic there, but I'll stop.
In disruptive technology, you know, the cost of something is actually kind of the last concern of a customer. So, you know, we have to remember that this is still disruptive technology. What people favor is not necessarily the cheapest swap. You know, people do want the cheapest swap, but they will, if it comes down to picking something they're familiar with, they will choose familiarity, you know, confidence, and, you know, consistency over a cheaper swap. Like they're gonna, for example, like they're gonna stick on their ledger and pay 1.5% in fees versus going to some, you know, UI they've never heard of, even if they offer them 0 fees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, and that's why, like, what I want. That's why I think the memoless thing is really powerful. Because it is something that can interact with any wallet. Right? It's a QR code. It's so simple, so easy. It's something that once it gets shipped, we can deploy it and immediately get to work. And I you know, Khal, I like your karmatic attitude. I think that's great. And I think that same attitude is shared by many people in this ecosystem. So I love this community so much. So, you know, I tip my hat to you. I think that's just a really good attitude to have on things. But for me, I just want to get started. You know, and to me, it's like, what can we use that almost literally anyone can use? And to me, it just seems like the memo is sort of like a holy grail on this point. It's a QR code. Anyone can connect to it, and then you're done, right? You don't need any support. And if I have this interface, I just want to be in a position where it's low cognitive burden. They show up, swap, button, QR code, they're off to the races, done. You know what I mean? It is. I don't want anyone to look at this and then, okay, connect your wallet, right? That automatically throws red flags up. Connect my wallet. Is this legit? Is this real? Am I about to get rugged? Is this a smart contract exploit? Blah, 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 right? I just want super cognitive burden, QR code, done. And then they've made their first swap. Like I just want them to make that first swap, just to feel the power of not a permissionless real layer 1 swap. And then we create someone who then I think would maybe go and explore all these other interfaces, right? I actually think having our own interface that's simple actually helps promote other interfaces too in some ways. Because if they want something more, you know, something more complex, I mean, there's just it's just a win-win, I think. But I'm with the Coke, you've been patient too. I'll kick it to you. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, hey guys. Wow, this space has been a roller coaster. Like from like you said, like ideas go here, there. We started with the front end, then we went for the ecosystem, and back to front end. So I'll just give my ideas about the front end as well. What I have in mind is, yeah, it's a necessary. There's no right or wrong. I think it's necessary. I think Kenton is right. And we have faced with you, Danny, the same problems again. If you go to spaces, we speak about THORChain, we speak about something that we cannot point at it. I wanna, like my friends, even my friends who are into crypto, I'm like preaching the THORChain last 2 years, like, hey, it's the best thing. It's decentralized swaps, and then they hear the THORChain, they go to CoinGecko. Then they ask me, is the Thor coin? No. guys, it's not the THORCoin, it's the Rune. The ticker is Rune. You have to buy Rune if you want to bond the stuff. And it's since a lot of tokens I mean, the THORChain started as first of in the field of decentralized swaps, and that's why we have the Thor wallet. We have a lot of like branding that's associated with Thor this, Thor that, and that's really complex. And as a like XRP community, they didn't know anything about us. And just the hassle of like pointing them to somebody. I have nothing against you about the Leodex or anything. I have your code in my profile as well, but I feel this really not the best way to go. That I have to point the users at something that's not like a native to us, native to protocol. And it's just again, and then we lose the control. Like maybe it goes through the near intent, maybe it goes to chain flip. I just if I want to fight for the THORChain, if I wanna go Rune price up, I wanna point them at something that at least helps us to achieve this goal. And having this like vague place, like go look there, like go to Amazon, Google for the widget. Like you may stumble on us, but we have those optimistic quotes. We have so many other things that we cannot control, and I feel like the effort that we put in, send out to the universe, just the 50% of the effort just gets like go between other stuff. I think I'll stop here with the front ends. I think it's necessary. I do like the Leodex idea that you maintain the code base, but at the same time, I do have the same things in mind. Like then it has. It has to be our brand. That there cannot be like this. At least that's how I feel. There cannot be like this. Like, oh, donate to the Leodex or donate there. Do this. It has to be just precise. I can point the user there. Whatever action the user does there, it benefits THORChain, it benefits Rune, and there is no other option like guesswork. Again, it's added friction. Maybe he doesn't perform the swap because I have to select something here. He doesn't. He or she doesn't know. Like, is it necessary action to select something? Will it be by default 0? Will it be maintained as by default 0? So there's a lot of questions, again, a lot of control that we don't have. I would love to have front end that THORChain has control of. Like if we ask for Leodex, if we have your code base, but we want to change some branding, the structure of the website, are you willing to do this? So again, we don't agree with your website look, whatever, and yeah, that's my main concern. I want to have something that we have control of, and then we can pass on with the people who maybe come on board with THORChain, they leave this and that, so it's always in hands of with us.
Yeah, that's why I was really excited to have this conversation today, because I want to advance. I want to actually make progress here, because because yeah, I share the sentiments with Coke, but and I just, like, again, I don't want to undersell. I really love the fact that people are stepping up to help with this thing, but I don't want there to be wasted developer time if the community does not want that, right? So because I don't want people to go through. So I think you've already got your karmatic energy, man, just by coming up here and promoting that, and you're friggin' awesome. But yeah, I think I just, that's the thing, is I want something that is just super simple and is easy that I can promote. God dang it, I was gonna say something else. Now I've lost it. Because
not simple, but direct.
Yeah, but direct. Right? That's what I mean.
The focus is at one point. I love what Leodex is doing. I love how fast they onboard XRP, everything, all the wallets. It's perfect, but it has to be direct benefit to a THORChain. That's my only thing that I have in mind. And the way, like you described the karma and stuff, this will come back to you in so many rounds. Like if you do this website or the front end for us, and you like 2 years later you have 10 million contracts, somebody offers you, hey brother, you come work for us. So yeah, I totally believe it. I love the attitude and the proactiveness. Hats to you, man. You're the best.
So okay, Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
So can we make progress here? Let's make progress in this conversation. Can we all collectively, give me thumbs up? There's gonna be like a little delay. Like thumbs up, thumbs down. Should we have an interface? Should we have I think we should. I think because if you guys remember, we had Orion come up here. And he basically said and I talked to him about this in Las Vegas. I mean, there are some protocols out there who have an optimistic spread, right? When they quote so THORChain is essentially being punished for being honest or being as honest as we possibly can. Ultimately, you cannot be perfectly honest because how the pools are rebalanced, in case people don't know that, there's some listeners recording, is that arbitrageurs that we don't know are rebalancing the pools. We are relying upon the hyper competitive nature of those arbitrageurs from the free market to try to be the first to extract yield from doing the arbitrage of the pools. It's a system that requires no upkeep and it works amazingly well. Okay, so the free market is basically given the price execution on THORChain. And so at the point where, as Kenton alluded to earlier, we have commoditized the liquidity access, with some like API aggregators, then I think it becomes necessary for THORChain to have this interface, particularly if we cannot have a standard. And this isn't a slide on SwapKit. This is a really hard problem. Like, how do you make a standard? How do you ensure that rules are being followed? How do you ensure that everyone's being honest? I don't know how to do that. If there was, and that was a standard that was being applied, then I don't think this would be a conversation, right? But because there is ambiguity in terms of price execution, I think it just logically, first principles, we have to have an interface. Not only just so, we can have a place where people can go, but then like maybe someone like myself or Eric or Khal or anyone who is interested in promoting THORChain, we can point someone in a direction. You want to make a swap, just go there. Eric, you got your hand up. What do you got?
Yeah, I was waiting for the topic to come back to the interfaces side of things. And since you asked the question, if we want a front end, so the previous space I was playing devil's advocate and playing the role of how would it be perceived, what problems could we encounter. I think that this space was amazing to solve all of that. I think it's pretty clear that we need a front end. And here's the thing, Denny, and you said it perfectly. We need a simple as hell experience, sort of like Uniswap, for example, where you can point someone and they can go through the swap experience as simple as possible. And then if they want, I don't know, a more kind of expert experience, they can go, for example, to Leodex, which has a bulkier interface. If they want to do crypto payments, they can go to Mocha. If they want to do some other stuff with other integrations, they can go to, I don't know, Cacao Swap or whatever. But the thing is, the front ends will not be competing with this THORChain front end because one, they have more integrations, let's say Maya Protocol, Chainflip, etc. But also the user experience can be different, and they can offer stuff that the bare bones THORChain interface will not offer, or at least not at the beginning. So yeah, I'm all for having a THORChain front end.
You're bang on, Eric. And
Yeah.
sorry, Pedro, I just want to say, Eric, I want to apologize to you because last week when you asked me that question, playing devil's advocate, I got pretty worked up, and I hope you didn't take it like I was shooting the messenger, like I was attacking you. I was getting worked up about the situation, so I hope you didn't take any offense to me getting worked up responding to you last week.
No, not at all. And you know what? I think that having heated conversations is part of being, on an ecosystem that has passion. And one thing that THORChain has is that we have passionate people. We have people committed both economically, but also ideologically to the protocol. So, I mean, it would be pretty boring if we didn't get heated up every now and then,
But you nailed it. Like THORChain is a passionate community, and we need to empower them to sell THORChain, and that's what our own front end is. It's a business card, for our community to get passionate and go out and sell it and pitch it, and show their friends, teach people about it, and it really focuses the conversation on THORChain. And Eric, you couldn't have said it any better. The other front ends have other features, right? Like that's, if their only product is THORChain, it's like, well, that's their problem, right? You got to get more creative, right? Add more value to your users, right? Like, so you're absolutely right. It'll be two different user experiences, and that's what people are paying for, is the user experience, and they're not necessarily looking for always the cheapest swap. So yeah, so thanks, man.
And you know what I've been talking this whole time? I haven't shared my vision really all that well. So perfectly said, Eric and Kenton. Thank you guys. This is what I envision. Okay. Yes, the memoless thing, I've talked about that, the simple interface, but this is what I want. I want somewhere where I can send them to an interface. And then on this interface, yes, you have the memoless simple swap, but you also have links to the educational resources of THORChain, the Telegram, the Discord, right? The THORChain community Telegram, THORChain community Discord. And then also on that same interface, you have like sort of like a rune bond situation where there's node operators, maybe in a separate tab. You know what I mean? Because that's way down the line. You're not going to have bonding features on the front tab at all, but it should at least be there as like a small tab that someone could click on, because maybe once they learn more about THORChain, right? And then that way because take someone who's new. I am a new person. I've never used THORChain before. And I've been on a centralized exchange. The journey I'd have to take from using THORChain for the first time and then becoming a bond provider right now as it stands is enormously long. You have to do lots of research, and sometimes it's just luck. Like you won't even know that it's an option, right? Having a simple UI that offers very simple things like a simple swap, and then having the ability where people then can learn more about THORChain, right? Join the Telegram, join the Discord, and then we can get to work, like people like myself or Baloney Bones or Koitsu, and then we can start building our community, like get more new blood in here, right? Because we're segmenting ourselves off, guys, right? Because as Kenton said in the beginning of the space, when someone uses SwapKit, they're kind of using SwapKit. Like right now, was it TrustWallet? When they do a quote, it doesn't say THORChain. It doesn't say anything. It says SwapKit. No one knows what SwapKit is. It's a kit that swaps. That's what you're going to deduce from that, right? That's what I want. That my mind, the first principles, when I think simple interface, simple swap solutions, and then the ability for people to expand the horizons and dig deeper into THORChain if they're so inclined. That's what I think.
Yeah, so SwapKit is the invisible infrastructure that everyone hoped THORChain would be, but it's SwapKit. SwapKit is that invisible infrastructure. So THORChain is visible, and that's why we have to get in people's heads to use it. So one of the advantages of having our own site, promoting that, marketing that, trying to get our own users, is the spillover. People will see the THORChain messaging out there. They go into their wallet or their front end, and then when that selection comes up, I'm like, THORChain, yeah, I've heard of that. Okay, I'll use that, right? So there is a spillover effect into those other wallets and front ends that's using SwapKit and providing those different routes. But instead of going for those people directly, I think it's we have a way better chance of success of trying to get people to use our front end first. Yeah.
Bro, because beforehand, oh, go ahead, whoever speaks.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like since we have been a couple of spaces and lives, as long as we have to send out Google Docs links, different links here and there, we are doing something wrong, guys. Imagine you are trying to sell your Lexus or Toyota that was mentioned before, and instead of sending them to the, I don't know, Toyota.com, we send like, hey, check out this Google Doc, check out this and that. And oh, by the way, if you want a bond, you have to go there. We have Discord here and there. Bro, we are doing something really wrong. There should be one point of where we point people, they go there, they swap, or they start their learning from one point of this place.
We have a historical precedent for this, actually, because, and this is slightly divergence on the topic of what you're talking about, Coke, but initially, when we first talked about marketing, guys, Kenton came up with the idea. I was like, okay, like we don't have our interface, so what we got to do? We have to promote a interface, just someone who has swap volume. So we looked at TrustWallet, right? I don't know if you guys if you're part of that conversation, but like Kenton flow the idea is like, hey, you know, Trust Wallet at the time was our biggest swap provider, so we should promote them. Like we have to get swap volume, right? But then when that happened, you know, Thor Wallet came up and they weren't thrilled about the idea, right? Which understandable from their perspective, right? It's like, well, why are we promoting them? And Kenton's idea is, well, like we just have to promote the biggest wallet. Like that's just like the percentage of people that use Trust. Like, do they even know they have swaps? Like, and so the logic is fine there. But then on the flip side, shortly after that, Thor Wallet became the #1 swap provider on THORChain. So it's like, well, okay, now what do you do? And then so I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. It's just a random example. The point is it's too convoluted and it creates too much animosity, right? We don't want that. The biggest, okay, let's be real. The biggest threat facing this entire protocol is like self-harm and lack of cohesion, right? And this can happen on the THORChain side. Potentially this could happen on the Rujira side. I don't understand Rujira politics at all, but we should all maximize and look for solutions that are not unfair, that don't promote one or the other. We should just make something that follows first principles and just works. And that's why I just think that a simple interface, I think it's just the most obvious win that we could do, and it just grows everything. I don't know. I want someone to tell me why this idea is wrong. Because for me, I check every box in my mind. It's just a win-win. And it allows someone like me to just, like when I'm going on these spaces, it's a crime. Like the vein in my brain pops up because I'm so frustrated. I'm like, man, I want to just tell them how to use fucking THORChain, but I don't know how, you know. If I mention Leodex, someone's going to get pissed off at me, you know? So anyway, I'll shut up.
I just want to clarify something, Patriot. You said that I wanted to start with Trust because it has the most volume. No, that was not the case. My reasoning for starting with Trust Wallet is that they had the most users. And
yeah, most untapped users,
the lowest friction of converting them. That was my reasoning, and I went through that whole process. And it's like it took me months to get in touch with people at Trust Wallet. You know, 9realms was helping me, but you know, they're corporate monster. You know, they're big, they're slow. And then I've realized that the other reason for Trust was that THORChain was the only route for Bitcoin trades for like, I don't know, a year and a half. And then of course, as soon as I start talking to them, they'd already introduced SwapKit and Rango Exchange, and like now they've got other routes. So I'm like, oh shoot. Like the nice thing with Trust is that the default was only THORChain, right? It was going to guarantee us the flows. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a good thing, because if I promoted them last year to get all these users, well, yeah, those are users on Trust Wallet. And then Trust Wallet goes and introduces all these other routes. Well, we spent all this time educating the Trust Wallet users to use Trust Wallet, but now and they're continuing to trade in their wallet, but now those trades are going elsewhere. And it's like, man, like it's just such a hurdle, right? It's so burdensome, it's so expensive to do that. So it's like we should just, if we're going to train and focus our marketing efforts, or, you know, education on anyone, it should be on using our interface, right? On using THORChain, and we build that relationship with the user, as opposed to trying to build other front ends relationships. And you're bang on, Patriot. Like, you know, if we started promoting one front end and another, and it's like everyone's going to say, well, what about us? What about us, right? And it's like, you know, we shouldn't be trying, you know, to pick sides or anything like that, right? We should pick our own side, promote ourselves.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, I don't want to speak from authority here, but someone come up here and tell me why we shouldn't have an interface at this point. I mean, please just tell me the magical reason. It's so obvious to me, especially because I've been putting in so much extra time trying to reach out and tell people about THORChain. And again, I am an educator, an official educator of THORChain. How am I impartial? How do I do that in a way that checks every box? How do I not alienate an interface? How do I do this? How do I do that? The way you do that is just give me a simple interface, something that I can just fucking point to and say, go there, baby. Enjoy the swap. Tell me what you think. Hey, did you like that? Well, here's a list of other ecosystem links if you want to do more primitives. Hey, here's Rujira. Here's that. I got my foot in the door. You know what I mean? But when I go on, like, and I did a live stream with Dipito Show, and I think Coke, we had 1,400 people that were tuned in live at one point, and I submit this ecosystem link. And it's just so cumbersome, and I'm just dying on the inside. But I'm smiling on camera, but I'm dying on the inside. I'm like, that link should say THORChain.net, THORChain.com, THORChain.trade, whatever. It should say something that's just so clear, so simple, and just send those people there. And then that way, like, you know, the extra people, they can try it right then and there. And I can walk them through it in real time. You see,
I want to add to that. And so kind of running with Khal's idea that he's proposing to us, that was basic. Scorch had this kind of the same idea for THORChain, is that we put the effort into our own front end, and then we can let others copy and paste our front end, and like have, like with the Coke, for example, he could have his own with the Coke front end, and it's just all routing to THORChain. You know, we could then, you know, if we want to get serious about marketing, you know, we go pay KOLs, but we're paying you to put THORChain front end in your website. You know, here's the HTML code, here's the API key, whatever. And we walk them through it. Now you can monetize your audience. You know, we're going to pay you to install it on your website and go talk about it, but it sits there, it's evergreen. And if they actually do make some money from it, then they're getting paid. That's recurring revenue for them that isn't coming out of THORChain's pocket. And so, you know, this is how like beer companies, I don't know if you guys, like, you got to pay to get your beer on tap at a restaurant or bar. It's illegal. That's not, you know, not supposed to, but it's how it's all done. And that's why a lot of craft beer companies can't compete with the big guys, because they can't afford to pay to have their beer on tap at a lot of the bars. We got to pay to play. You know, if we want to get THORChain out there, you know, let's pay people to integrate in their websites. You know, so we can start getting with big ideas on this and then how to spread it. But it all starts with our own interface.
Yeah, and like that's perfect. I mean, in allowing individuals, because like there's Stone in the audience right now. Don't feel the need to come up, Stone. It's the weekend, but he's a very influential member of the XRP community. He does a lot of good. He is a central core member of the XRP. He does amazing things with the community. You know, I want to give him the ability to make a Stone swap with memoless transactions, and he's on ramping. He's doing a great thing. Not only is he making some money for being such a great community member, but he's also on ramping people into THORChain, right? And getting them used to decentralized stuff. It's just like a win-win-win-win. Everyone wins. Like the more margin we can abstract away from centralized exchanges is how we get this game. I mean, we've built one of the most amazing and incredible protocols in conjunction with Rujira. This thing is wildly powerful, and now we have to all take it upon ourselves to spread this message. Like I said earlier, we talked about the optimistic quoting. We don't do that. You know, we pride ourselves on providing a good service, and we're honest about it, right? Right now, in the current commoditized structure that we have, THORChain liquidity, we are being punished for being honest, and this drives me insane, you guys. Like it gets me worked up. My blood pressure is probably 10 points higher than it should be, knowing that another protocol, it might be capturing revenue because they are choosing purposely to be a little bit more liberal with their quoting freeze just to edge us out on achieving a swap line. That drives me nuts. I don't like that. That needs to end. And so give me, because I'm ready to go, guys. I'm so motivated. I really want to do this. Give me the ability to just help others promote THORChain, not just me. Like, give me a toolkit like that where they can make their own memoless site and they can go to their own community. They have all these YouTube personalities. Like, this could explode in value so quickly. Give me the tools to do this, and I promise it's going to be great for everyone.
Stone, I know I just brought you up, but Heinrich, you've been extremely patient. I feel like we got to give you a chance to speak here. Give you a second to get off mute. Maybe you went to the bathroom or something. Heinrich, are you there?
A few more seconds left, buddy. Then we're going to Stone. All right, Stone, go ahead, man.
Hey, thanks for having me up. Appreciate the shout out. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I totally agree that you guys need your own standalone website, your own interface, so that you can do all the things that you've been talking about. I'm over here. Thanks, Denny, for calling me out. I usually don't get up here, guys, on the weekend. I'm just sitting here doing my meal prep, trying to learn alongside this new THORChain tech, and when you come to our spaces and when you go to dip a toe on YouTube, Denny nailed it. Like you need to have a website that you can put out there, and then on that website have a nice have a cartoon little tutorial with a whiteboard and maybe Denny up there talking about how the system works and how it's beneficial to the ecosystem, how it'll be beneficial to you, just straight up how to use it and what it's about. You're right. Not the honesty thing and being completely transparent might be setting you back a little bit, but in the end, it's going to pay out. And you guys are doing a great job. It's just about marketing, and it's really confusing for guys like me, you know, that are XRP centric, know all the tech in and out, and then you get added into this new swap and it doesn't quite go along with what we're used to. Denny, I sent you a couple of DMs on a couple different developers you could connect with to streamline that as well. And I'm all about a stone swap. I'm all about a dip a toe swap or a burn with merch or any of these other Web3 based projects I've been working with. They all have websites and they all want you to swap from all the other layer ones into the XRPL. So that would absolutely be an easy sell, quote unquote sell, because I wouldn't even have to sell it. That's just distributing the information freely and those people seeing the value in it and adding it.
Yeah, and that's, I'm so glad you said that. And if you have any developers that are building any DeFi primitives, like we have Pragmatic Monkey on stage with us. There's also the Rujira profile down there. They are definitely points of contact. Stone, just real quick, because could you just, because people don't maybe not know you at all from the THORChain side, could you just give us a quick little rundown of like, professionally what you do, like, because you have some marketing prowess as well, some expertise, if I'm not mistaken. Just go ahead.
So quick background on me. I grew up building houses in a family of construction workers. I joined the military, enlisted in the military, became a jet engine mechanic, did the United States Air Force for 20 years, retired out of there and started at Bosch doing process and project improvements. We streamline processes and make the products better. Did that for about 7 years before leaving and starting my own Web3 company that was all about trust, transparency, being honest, setting the way. And then I left that company to start my own consulting company, working with all the XRPL projects that are trying to develop solutions in real time. And Monday through Friday, I hold a space from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm based out of Charleston, South Carolina. I do consulting sessions in-house, IRL, for people that are trying to create Web3 businesses or even just onboard into cryptocurrency. I tend to push them towards the XRPL, but it's an onboarding process, whichever they feel most comfortable with. And then I do video calls with XRPL projects, developers, artists, anyone that has an idea that they're trying to create into a business, or if they've already had a business and they're trying to create revenue streams and expand their customer base or their communities.
Right. So thank you for saying that, Stone. So when I met Stone, you guys, like, I could tell right away that this is someone who's very familiar with connecting people, with marketing. And I think that's why we hit it off right away. I think it's at this point, guys, we definitely need our own interface. And I want to empower people like Stone. He has all these wonderful skills, and I want him to be able to actually provide a service on his Web3 applications that would easily slot in. And I mean, I just want you guys to just understand the vision, right? Like, just think about this. Like, if I get someone like Stone and he has other people they're interested in too, and then they're promoting THORChain because we have this ability for them to earn revenue with THORChain in the back end, just like we always envision. But then we also have an interface that we can point to. I mean, this is a win-win-win, such a big win. And then also, like, I've met Stone, and then I've met other people, and then I'm pushing those people to Rujira, right? I've met more, I think 3 separate people who are building trading bots, and they use it on the XRPL, and I push them to Rujira. I said, okay, you guys, you know, now we have direct layer 1 access, and then there's all these really cool DeFi primitives that we're building on the app layer. You've got to reach out to Rujira, and they have, right? And I think Pragmatic Monkey's already been in talks with them. So this is how this networking thing works, guys. And if we have this toolkit where we can allow people like Stone to make it, then they're going to just be even more interested in pushing it as well. Because objectively, it's good for them, but it's objectively a good thing for the entire industry. The more we can liberate people to allow people to make their own swaps, their own self-custody, the exact virtues we've been talking about for years now, this is the biggest win. I think we already have all the recipe for success. We just got to just change our strategy and embrace this interface idea and just run with it. It's going to win, you guys. I just know it is.
Absolutely. I just
I
want to follow back to what Kenton said. How we started as THORChain is not how we should end as a THORChain. We should evolve. The times were different. It was really hostile. Nowadays, you will not put in jail, so we should have our front end. So we have to adapt. If we don't adapt and we just get stuck to our principles as it was set up back in days. So principles in 1900s was different than it's now today. So we should adapt. And in crypto, the time flies way faster. So yeah, keep that in mind. We should not just get stuck where we were.
And yeah, I think
yeah,
that's a great point. Like we have to iterate, right? You know, we can look back, oh, we should have done this, should have done that. And that's okay, that's life, right? You know, no one's perfect. We're all learning, right? But if we recognize something and then don't act on it, that's the problem, right? If we sit there stuck in our ways, you know, expecting a different result, that's the problem. And I really want to reiterate, because I think too many people are seeing a THORChain front end as like it's a either or question. No, it's an and. Like everything that's in development right now, everything everybody's working on should continue going. None of that should stop. Keep moving forward. You know, we should have our own front end in addition to all that stuff. And like, you know, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. Patriot is, you know, Khal is, we have other, you know, front ends are willing to help. You know, developers looking to get hired. Like this is all in addition to everyone, right? So I think the only real questions when they come down to is, you know, how much money do we spend on it, right? Yeah, it shouldn't. The idea of our own front end shouldn't be taking away from anything else, right? It's in addition to everything else.
Just look at the XRP volume we've had recently, guys. It's just absolutely grown exponentially. And that shows a genuine interest, right? From the number 3 market cap in our protocol. I mean, they get it. They understand that we have given them something, a new ability they never had before, and it complements everything they want to do. And so I say we've given them one tool. Let's give them 10 more tools. Let's let them run with this thing. Let's let them grow. I mean, just like if you give them the ability to make margin on what THORChain can do for them themselves, I mean, that's just hugely possible. It's just it's so powerful. It's exponentially powerful, right? And that just helps everything. It makes everything great.
And call me crazy, guys, but I really do think meme coins are going to be the topic for this bull market. And there's a meme coin community being built on XRP, and it's isolated from Solana and Ethereum. And you know, if THORChain can bridge that gap, and you know, the XRP community gets behind their meme coin community, and it's helped made possible by THORChain, and you know, pump that fund. It's, I think, is it ICO today, or when is it going live? Right?
Yeah,
it's gonna be
$600 million, and it sold out in 15 minutes. I heard.
Second biggest in history, or something like that. Like,
I don't know.
I don't care what you guys think about meme coins. They are here. They're happening. It's gonna happen. Like, and if THORChain can be that bridge between the Solana and Ethereum meme coins into XRP meme coins, like that's gonna be crazy volumes, right? The whole reason Pump and Solana they're doing well is because of the meme coin volume, right? Why shouldn't THORChain capture some of that? You know, THORChain is an exchange. We are agnostic to what people trade and why. We don't care. We just want the fee. right? We just want the flow, the volume. We don't care your beliefs, your reasonings, what you're trading. That's totally up to you. We just want to be in the middle of all that. And if we could have front ends that empower the XRP community, to get XRP into DeFi, to connect it with Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin, all the other cryptos, and that unlocks a huge audience for XRP. And it's, yeah, they don't all have to agree, but some people are going to be interested in that and want to run with it.
Go ahead, Stone.
Hey, I just wanted to say that you're right about, at least in my opinion, you're right about meme coins and the communities that they bring. To me, I see meme coins as a community coin, a discount coin, a coupon coin. It can be you as long as you can find a use for it and you have a good community behind it supporting it, it's going to succeed. I took over a meme coin on the XRPO called XMeme, and now I use that as a discount token. If you want to come book a consulting session with me, you can use that instead of RLUSD or XRP and get my time at a discounted price. And then I use that and put it back into the project liquidity pool. This would be perfect for my website to have a swap, right? It would be perfect for all the other projects that I work with to have their own swap. So if we get your attention and you're a big Solana holder, maybe you got in Solana real cheap, but you don't want to cash it in because of whatever, maybe you're afraid it'll cause some kind of tax issue, you can swap it over using THORChain and it avoids that. And you can do that on my website, even better. When you guys get this front end done, you get the tutorial done, I'm happy to host an AMA. And THORChain, I sent you a DM. It's better to host spaces on a mobile device so that you can have the comments below. That's all it is communication. And I think that the reason you're seeing so much influx of XRP users is because of Denny and Eric and Coke and their efforts to communicate that to the XRPL. I mean, since I met Denny, he's been on point every day, consistently in the spaces that we are in, talking to the communities, and that's what you guys need to do.
Thanks for that, Stone. And on the comment thing, we actually can't figure that out. The THORChain, the account, the intern, he's tried the phone, he's tried the desktop. We actually don't know why comments are not available. It's beyond us. It's beyond our IQ. We're not smart enough to figure it out. So, but maybe there's some nuance with the phone, maybe a different browser. I don't know, but believe me, we've had.
I'm happy to help with that. Have him DM me.
Okay, TC intern, you got to hook up with Stone. He's gonna show you the way to make comments happen. Okay, that was great. Damn. Does anyone have anything they want to say? Pragmatic Monkey, Coke.
I do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually want to go back to the Appler discussion, the ADR20. So I have a couple of things in mind. One thing is that I want to maybe try to visualize the role of Rujira or the Rujira alliance for Kenton and how it works as a like a app store, like a iPhone app store. We have to just draw a line where we draw a line of this centralization. So we can have this line as a THORChain, or we can go further away. It's like Rujira and Kenton. Keep in mind, everybody can compete for the apps, everything that happens on top of the app layer. But just the Rujira Alliance is the governing body who makes this executive decisions, who deserves or who's performing bad or not. And in my mind as well, we have the block space. We don't have the fastest we don't have the fastest blocks as well. And also we have the secured assets limitation. So we should not have a lot of those governance entities. Like we have the Rujira Alliance, then maybe we have like this THORChain something alliance, and everybody on board perp taxes, lending and stuff. It just eats up our security. Of course, the secured assets is another discussion. Like, do we relax or not? But everything, there is an open competition to develop on THORChain and the Rujira Alliance on top of the Rujira. It's just the pragmatic monkey, and they are the so to speak policing this, just as like a app store.
Can I? Okay, maybe now I'm starting to come around and understand. So let's go with the App Store analogy. So THORChain is the iPhone, Rujira
Yes.
is the App Store, and if I'm talking about, oh, we should have multiple Rujira teams, that'd be like having multiple app stores on the iPhone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, that doesn't really make
Exactly.
sense. We should only have one app store, and then all the apps are on that store. So Rujira is the app store, and they're going to have all these different, all the apps are in that app store apps. Is this the way to look at it?
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what at least when I try to visualize this stack, that's how I visualize. So that's how I visualize. I still have problems with that. So guys, you can call me Kenton as well. I don't want to be dick, but let's say you have this exclusivity. It's more now towards pragmatic monkey. You have this exclusivity periods, 12 months, 1 year, and then we have this discussion like, hey, let's see how have you performed, what's going on, like this and that. But if we have this uncertainty that we are going to have this discussion in next year, that means nobody is going to develop on THORChain on top of this app layer, because they have this uncertainty. Like maybe the Rujira Alliance will continue as a sole provider, and it's going to be 50-50. So I have this kind of how do we fix this? That we have this fairness, that the people kind to can start working on top of app layer, or are they supposed to work through you first, and then when you blow your exclusivity, they will go and they will go on their own? Or how is this going to work? I see this like a huge stopper for people. Why should I come develop here? Because if we will not get access to the app layer, or I hope you understand what I mean, pragmatic monkey.
Yeah, I don't think that's really an issue here. Like, so first, there are different layers, and I invite you to read in the ADR20. There is a section about classification of builders, but there are different type of builders. All what we want to prevent during this 12 months period is duplicate of core apps. But then there is a ton of builders that can come and build things on top of those core primitives. That's already happening. It's gonna accelerate once when we have more core primitive and more liquidity from market making strategies. And then after that, like I mean, it will really be like okay, so in May next year, is the THORChain community in general happy with the current state of things? Do they want to extend the exclusivity period and keep the fee at 50-50, or do they want to open it for competition of core applications that Rujira is already operating inside this app store, to use your analogy? And in that case, we reduce the rate, the tax rate, and hopefully you will see new teams coming and trying to compete. I don't see any issue. I mean, now like we have flexibility with the new wording in the ADR20, and let's see in a year.
PM, did my analogy make sense about the iPhone App Store?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. But with the caveat that Rujira is providing the App Store, but it's also building some of the apps in the App Store.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. But so go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What happens if you're not happy with the App Store at all? like we see that your governing is not doing any good work. Maybe you're slipping behind the wheel or something. Because the only reason why I asked this is that I remember like 1 month ago we were all so happy that Levana is going. Levana is going to be like, of course it's soon, but we were happy. Like usually the leverage trading is like 40. It's a lot of, it's many times higher volume than just the simple swaps. And I did use, so as soon as the Levana launched their perps, I did go there. I clicked around. I have to be honest. I don't want to like be a bad guy, but I was not happy with the experience. I clicked around. I couldn't select. I couldn't edit the numbers. The user experience was pretty bad, and this is just the okay. I can get around. I will learn the quirks, how the UI works, but then we have this like crazy funding rates, and overall we have like $5,000 per day as a volume. It's kind of hilarious. How? So what's next for Levana, for example?
That's why I was telling at the start, like that there are different teams doing different things, and I don't want to speak too much about that because they are there
I
doing
understand,
their
but
things.
yeah, continue. I understand.
But what I was saying earlier is that if we see after some time that the product they built is not really what at the standard we were expecting it to be, we could develop like something alternative that probably fits like is closer to a hyper liquid experience. That's all what I would say for now. So
Understand.
it's not.
So my question is, I feel like we are doing this reverse again. We are doing product first, ADR next. Do we have any ADRs in place? How we can judge those apps that come alive, that we can judge on alive? Because at the moment, I feel like we have the Levana. There's nowhere that I can complain. I don't want to complain, but give this real feedback how I feel about the product. I feel like I'm just a crying soul in the desert.
No. I mean, I think a lot of people have had similar feedback on the application. Have you tried the Rujira trades, the order book decks?
I tried Rujira trades. I tried Rujira swaps. They're good. They are developed by you, but I'm not happy with perps.
Okay, good. No, but it's just good to hear that. Okay, so well, just that's it pretty much. So maybe if we were to like if Levana cannot deliver something good, maybe we could do something to improve it, to take it in our own hands. So that's it. I really don't want to dig more into that. They say you need to have a bit more time to have a fair shot. But
no, let's actually. I will. Let's have this discussion the other way. It's not important what is wrong or what is correct. Let's steer this discussion in thoughts. How do we fix this? We don't. I feel like we don't have proper ADRs in place how to fix this, because that's my biggest concern.
So you get it in the ADR. That's why I think it's all right, because worst case we are already like the dates started for this 12 months non-compete started in May with 3.6. That's what we discussed. So that's what is in there. So it's May. So it's not even 12 months from here. It's like 9 months from now. In 9 months, worst case, you just open up the floodgates and find another.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I actually was too aggressive towards you, Pragmatic Monkey. I think one thing is ADR for the app layer, and I think the other thing should be ADR, or like this way to behave towards specific app. I have nothing against you. I have frustration against specific app. So I think we should have the voice against this app. Like, hey, everything is wonderful, guys. You have onboarded 50 amazing apps, but hey, this perp, this lending, that, only this is problem. How can we voice our opinion on specific app?
Well, it's really like via the community channel. That's how you make your voice heard. So in that case, we are not going to have like a, especially at this stage, there is no governance right attached to Ruji. So it's really in the hands of the team, mostly the Rujira team, to do the right things. There is this a bit weird of a setups because it was a merger. We were like forced to be partner with certain other teams, and they like they need to have a bit of a fair shot because it was this 12 months non-compete discussed. But and we are fully aware of like I get your frustration. You are not the only one saying that, and we understand that. And just be a bit patient and know that the nuclear option, like there won't be, I think, in the foreseeable future, any governance rights attached to Ruji, but you make your concern heard via just like being in the Telegram. But even Levana is not really in the Telegram, like they are kind of really isolated. So probably like Twitter is the best place. I don't know, or the dev Discord and pinging them in the dev channel. Actually, that's probably the best place. So yeah, sharing feedback there. But
yeah,
I hear you. You are not the only one. We have heard that.
Yeah,
a lot,
I can imagine because it's quite bad. But I have us maybe like there is no point to just complain and say this is bad, this is this. Like I always, guys, it's for everybody. If you have something to complain at, always come with solution. So I was thinking about solutions. Like we have some like really basic functionality. It's either like a perp text, it's lending, it's indexing. Is there like a way like you like kind of have this not a competition or like, hey, we are looking to resolve this kind of financial functionality, and now you kind of have like maybe 3, 4, 5 teams trying to compete to be this exclusive app for that functionality. So instead of just I know I understand the Levana was a merge, but in the future, for example, like you just make a competition. Hey, we need a perp text. At the moment, it's open for you to have this like who's the best on the testnet, and who wins there, they after that they get promoted to the mainnet or something like this, because this in this way you kind of open up for competition, but still we have this exclusivity as an app store to promote whatever is the best one.
You know, I mean, that's a totally possible model. It's already the case that StageNet is permissionless, so anybody can build there and try to prove that they can build something better. And then, I mean, if there is a need identified, so for example, for perps, that could be a good way. But I will not encourage anyone to do that for perps just yet. Please give us a bit more time, because I think we can resolve that internally, and we have like all the tools to do that. And yeah, and then the issue with this model is you need to have teams that are willing to build without funding a full product to show that they can compete, knowing that if you have a few of those that are competing for the same spots, I don't know if you will be able to attract a lot of people doing that. So then we go back to actually the model that's not the nuclear option, or like the May next year, that's just do not decide to open up the competition because the solution provided by Rujira is not good enough, and then you can have just any teams that come, get their own funding, and start building.
Well, I just think if I'm just observing, I'm zooming out here. I actually think this is pretty encouraging, just watching this back and forth, because this just shows that mediocrity will not be handled or will not be tolerated. You know, we like everyone here, everyone who's a Rujira holder, like they want the best of the app. And so people who come investing, they want to see performance. So I think this is just a natural evolution of how this is going to go. I think you're seeing it in real time. Yeah, I do lean the argument that, you know, it's a new app layer. Give them some more time to bake. You know, the UI nuances, those can be really inconvenient and frustrating. But yeah, I mean, well, I think you don't even need a competition, right? Like, let's just say, I'm not going to single out Levana here. Let's just say Team X has a product and they fail to deliver. I think you literally could look out at the wider crypto scene and see designs that are currently working in the market. And then you can just either construct a design from that design utilizing the technology stack that we have, or you could simply invite that team to come. Like meritocracy is easy to determine because it's currently working, and we have information that we can use to like make models and things like that. So I think we might not even need. I understand what you're saying with the code, but it might even be simpler than that. If the solutions may be quite obvious, if that makes sense.
But I want to jump in there because, like you said, if you see another design working, copy and paste that. I can't stress enough that is, sorry, Pedro, it's not right. Like, what you have to convince people to use it. Like look at Hyperliquid. And everyone's all butthurt. Why are they getting all this volume? It's centralized, it's a 3 or 4 multisig. THORChain is a better design. It's an 80 of 120. Blah blah blah. Hyperliquid had better marketing. Like it's so much of this comes down to marketing to convince users, right? Now that's, again, not trying to be a dick with Ruji, but it's like they could have literally the best developers in the world and literally the best code. It doesn't matter if they can't get people to use it. So like that's the value, right? That's what brings value, is convincing people to use it. Having the best code and best people helps you sell it, but ultimately you got to convert people. And that's why so many times you see, not just in crypto, but in business in general, it's like, why do people buy that product? It's absolutely garbage. It's because they've got great marketing. They built a brand and they convince people to use it. People follow brands. They don't follow products.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead with the code.
Sorry.
I think you do need a minimum of a fairly strong product, and then of course it's about marketing and attracting user. But I think there is still a minimum, like having a good product, especially when you go to stuff like perhaps, which is or like any DeFi product where it's already highly competitive. You need a very good product. I think that's also what with the cock is.
Yeah, I do agree with Kenton as well. Like the marketing makes a huge role. I understand what programming Monty is saying. Like we need the minimum product. My only concern is that I want this rule book. I want to have this rule book. How can I just see we onboarded Levana? Let's see how much time they have. Where can I put the criticism? I feel like there is not a specific rule book, and that may create an environment when we have a lot of like this limbo, a lot of this jelly, like maybe. And I'm a sole Rujira and rune holder. I don't have access to backdoor deals. I don't fly in a private helicopter with JP. I don't know what's going on. So I want to have this specific rule book where we have specific rules down, like, hey, this is the expected performance. This is this that people layman terms can just follow. That's the only thing I want, because otherwise, for example, at the moment, I like 3 weeks, I come to Levana, it's the same UI. Like, are they developing something? What's going on? It's so hard to judge. That's my frustration. I don't see the progress. Every day I see it's 4,000 Bitcoin volume. 4,000. It's nothing, guys. It's we can say it's basically zero. It's just us guys, me, you testing. So I just want to have this rule book, something to follow, understand the process, and this rule book actually enables for other people to come in maybe and develop as well. Because imagine if the other people who maybe consider app layer or THORChain, they just don't know like what's the rules here.
So eventually, like the ADR20 is your rule book here, and the backstop is to get other teams competing. Like, but
it's rule book for Rujira, but not for apps. But it's, you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, but yeah, then for apps, like anything that falls inside the Rujira Alliance, it's on us. Like, you have to trust us, the core team. And we are in a weird situation now. Like, I understand your frustration, and I'm telling you, just like, I'm fully aware of what you say, and you are not alone, and we see it. And I just cannot give you a rule book, but I cannot like.
Somebody's got to put their mic on mute. There's background noise. Sorry, PM. I'll let you
Actually,
keep going.
Pragmatic Monkey, thank you so much. actually, what I mean by rule book is what to follow. And if you say the rule book is that trust us, then as for me as an investor, it gives me some kind of rule. The rule is trust us. It's okay. That's perfectly fine. I'm not saying what the rules has to be, but if you say trust us at the moment is the rule, it's fine.
And let me be a bit more specific here by us. Like, I mean, clear, like objectively, the Rujira team has been leading most of the effort. Hans has done all the work allowing the app layer to exist in the first place. It wasn't Levana contributing in any of that. Actually, Hans has also been providing a lot of answer and the broader team. Matteo for the FTI, even Brett had to provide some UI components so they could just adapt what they had on Osmosis. But all they have done is just copy pasting the apps they had on Osmosis. They try to recreate anything new and better that's aimed at competing with Hyperliquid and the big boys of the perf market. So we knew all that. We did not have, we as a Rujira team or other team participating in the merger did not have a say in which team was being on board for what and whether we thought they would be able to deliver or not. Now it has been like almost a year that we started all working together. Things start to, I think, appear more clearly, and both for GP and the THORChain team, Nine Rims, and I think it become just more evident who can deliver what type of apps, which kind of quality, and so just like I cannot. I don't want to speak more about that now because like it's just a complicated situation out there, but just please understand that we like I hear you, I know what you say, you are not alone, and we still have till May next year to where we have this non-compete. So meantime, trust us, we will find a way to make things better.
Yeah.
PM, let's sorry, go ahead. Coke.
I will just finish off. It's PM. It's fine by me. At least as long as I know what's the rule book, and as it's like an example. Like if I'm flying if I'm flying a plane and the engines stop, and the rule book is that it's up on you. Like it's good. At least I know. Like okay, I'm on my own. I have to figure out how to do I get a parachute? What's going on? The good thing is that I don't just sit down and put my head between my knees and stuff like that. So knowing that the rule book is unknown, it's good enough. So I know what to follow.
PM, I wanted to ask you. We keep going over the negative what ifs with Ruji. Let's go over a positive what if. So you guys are crushing it. The next year is awesome, and everyone's like, this is making really good sense. We don't want to open up the competition. We want you guys to keep doing what you're doing, keep running with it. Should THORChain, in that scenario, the fee split would say 50-50. Should THORChain still consider lowering it? Like with that, the idea, basically it's a tax, right? And so, I'm a free market guy, lower taxes means more economic activity. If even though Ruji has the exclusivity and you guys are crushing it, would it still make sense to perhaps lower the fee to THORChain to encourage you guys to get more apps, more creative and create more activity? Or is it like, well, no, for it to make sense for THORChain, we do got to keep 50-50. Because THORChain still has to get fed, and that is a fair split for you guys for having the exclusivity and everything. What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, my personal thoughts, because here, like I'm surely not the only person who's gonna call the shot, but so GP always adds mentioned that the 50% tax was something temporary and that it should go lower after a while. So I think like maybe lowering it a bit would still be nice. But honestly, like I think like we are really like putting like I like the wording of the ADR20 now because it keeps this flexibility. So we can see, assess, and speak with real data in a year time once we have a track record to show, and then we can decide. I also like, for me, like my initial view, you as the one pushing for a ton of competition on the app layer. My initial view was really to see us more as a 50-50 GV, where we are like fully like not fully integrated, because of course we have two different tokens that accrue value differently to a different set of people, but overall effectively having sorry, I'm having a thought now. So effectively having a strong economic alignment and this really trusted partnership, trying to build this big unit competing with external players, the centralized exchange, and those are big ones. And in that spirit, I'm thinking that actually there is maybe an intermediate solution which is quite cool to further align interest. It could be that so you have two ways to stack Ruji. You can stack Ruji, so of the revenue going to Ruji stackers, you get 50% of that going to people that single stack their Ruji, and you get 50% of that going to people who stack the Rune Ruji LP. So you need to own both token to get a share of revenue, and that's kind of I think eventually will be the holy grail of stacking, because if you do that, then you also get a share. So you get 50% of the revenue of Ruji, plus you get a share of the 50% going to THORChain that is allocated to the Rune Ruji LP, and that's dependent on THORChain rules to allocate cross-system income between LP, which is, I think, a function of the volume you do versus other pools each block, and so and you also get the trading fees that happen in this pool. Well, that's part of the cross-system income that is being distributed to LPs. So maybe a good way to align interest longer term in a scenario where we don't open up competition is to say we still reduce the share going to THORChain, but maybe we reallocate it to stackers in the Ruji Rune LP. That could be a way, like a nice intermediate solution. So it means to get this extra revenue, so it doesn't change anything for single-sided Ruji stackers. It doesn't change anything. Well, it changes a bit for node operators or liquidity provider THORChain that are not in the Rune Ruji LP. But then people can get that want real alignment with both communities. They just get their Rune Ruji LP, provide liquidity into that. You need to own both token in equal share, and you stack that. And now instead of getting 50%, you are getting, I don't know, 60, 70%. Like, so we could play with that to try to still reduce the tax rates, but over incentivize, and a bit of that will go will need to go to also single-sided Ruji, but it will disproportionately improve the situation for Rune Ruji LP stackers. So that's just an idea, like on the fly. I don't like having those conversations so early and without proper thoughts, because usually it's just start creating ton of tensions, and people will interpret it the wrong way possible, and then I'm gonna be crucified by the community for saying something that I don't know, it's just like a position you push me into formulating an idea on. But I think we can find different solutions to further align interest between both community, and that could go via the Rune Ruji LP stacking.
Yeah, I agree. I hope nobody's like, we're just theorizing and coming up with ideas here. Nothing is like set in stone, or don't take any of this literally, you guys. Maybe I can rephrase my question, PM. Are there any apps that don't make sense or can't be built with a 50-50 fee split? It just doesn't make sense for you guys. There's just not enough in it for you. But if the fee split was more in your favor, then it does open the door for some other apps, some other things. 'Cause it does make, you know,
So I
it
think
is
for
worth your
us,
time to build.
for us as a Kujira team, we will do it anyway because we are kind and cheap. But I think if you want to attract other team, it would be a real challenge. Yeah. I mean, from the conversation I had with a potential team building on Kujira that will not be part of the Rujira alliance, and so we'll have to support and will not be building on top of existing core app. So they will have to also have the 50% tax. Usually, it's a killer. I've spoken with a few of those that people put me in touch with, and usually that's where the conversation stops. But because we are like already into that and operating really in this cooperative spirit for us, I don't think that's what would block us to launch a specific type of app. If we think there is value, because that's also the thing, like we are building an ecosystem here. That's the beauty of we control the full stack. We build all those apps. If we see something that even is not going to generate any revenue or very little, but which is the case for most apps, like taking perps aside, what we built for as a Kujira team, effectively you get all those apps, but you get the money market, you get, well, the stablecoin could be a good contributor as well, but you get the DEX, you get the IMM, but actually most of the revenue will be coming from the spot trading on the order book DEX, and the rest are tools that we can use to support liquidity on the order book, to build more expressive product, more expressive strategy, and to provide a one-stop shop solution for other projects and eventually companies and everyone to come and decide to launch on THORChain. But the bread and butter, we expect most of the revenue to really come from the spot trading. So it's in the same spirit. Like we also built the stacking contract. Well, it's important to distribute revenue, but it doesn't contribute revenue directly. We have like a streaming contract. We have the merge contract. Like those are non-revenue generating infrastructure pieces that we build. So anything that can generate some revenue, even if small, but we see value in adding it to the toolkit, we will do it.
Sorry, Pedro, one more question. You guys have to get paid, you have to get fed, right? So you have your markup to your customers, and then the tax you pay to THORChain, and then you make your difference. I'm just wondering out loud. So if you're like, man, guys, we're having a really hard time. We're just having a hard time competing because our total fee is really high compared to everybody else. If we lower our fee, THORChain, will you lower your tax? Because that could, if THORChain lowers their tax by 20%, maybe that'll increase volume on Rujira by 100%. So net, THORChain makes more money by lowering their tax. Do you understand what I'm asking? Is that a plausible scenario?
That's a very possible scenario, and that makes a ton of sense. Effectively, what we want to maximize is the absolute dollar value of revenue. So I've said that a few times. Once we'll have enough track record, the analytics in place and everything, we are going to start experimenting a bit with the fees on the spot DEX, but we can experiment the same way for all the apps. But I always focus on Rujitrade because, again, like this is where most of the value is going to come from in our expectations. And we will just run short experiments and see, like, okay, if we lower the taker fee and maker fee by if we half it, does it generate more additional volumes that the net absolute number of dollar generated is higher? Yes, no. If no, then it's probably not worth it. If yes, then okay, we should do that. And if we can lower the tax on THORChain, if we see that lowering the fee indeed drive more volume and lowering the tax on THORChain results into an higher level of our revenue, we will. I think that would make a very strong case also for reducing the tax on the THORChain side.
And I just want to be clear, like I view that as different than a race to the bottom on fees. Like, going back to our front end and being worried about that is we don't want to have to lower our fees just to go sideways. If lowering our fees can increase our overall revenue, then it makes sense. That's a good reason to lower our fees, because it's a net increase in revenue. I just, it's a really bad business if we got to lower our fees just to go sideways. That's not good. But okay, cool. Thanks, PM. So go ahead, Patriot.
Well, actually, you were going to say the same thing I said, Kenton. I just say straight up, if this is what I just want to give you, like a carrot on the stick. I know you guys you're so locked in and you're ready to deliver, and I'm really excited. I think you guys are doing really well, and I think the market generally now believes in Ruji. I mean, just look at the price action, and just full disclosure, I am definitely a Rujira. I hold Ruji as well, guys. So and I'm stacking as much as I can. But yes, if you guys are killing it in 9 months' time. If you just it's just rip roaring, THORChain's making money, you guys are making money. I think at that point, yeah, like you're 20%. I was thinking the same thing, Kenton. Go from 50 to 40, give them a 20% discount and just see what happens. Just to get that engine really revving and going even higher. So I'm really excited to see what's gonna go on. And I just encourage anyone up here, or not anyone in the Rujiran, like I'm Rujiran too, but you see I'm saying, like anyone just to reach out, like any thoughts around that, just let me know like what your impression is. But I think I would just advocate out of that as a principle. I mean, if you guys are showing merit and you're crushing it, it only makes sense then just to reduce it. Just like 20% would be, I think, a very reasonable rate just to get you guys supercharged and go even harder. So yeah, I'm hoping that just really encourages you guys, because I want to see that. I want to see the app layer just completely blow everyone's faces off. Because if it blows everyone's faces off, our face gets blown off too as THORChain. So let's go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I have this one thing in mind, like if you don't have any like land in the sand, I mean line in the sand, then it's really hard to like on the run to adjust. So will this be in the ADR as well? How do you go with the fees? What's the process even for voting for the fees? And like when it comes to Levana, can you maybe, if you can, elaborate? How do you for example, you can take as a Levana as a example, and of course, oh, PM, I don't want to crucifix you. I'm just this curious little monkey who's just poking holes and just trying to understand. So how do you adjust, or how do you understand if this app is not performing? What's the processes you go through to understand if they're up to their task, and how do you consider maybe like replacing them with other team? Can you explain this process if you can?
So we will see, like at the end, we are going to build dashboard. We will have a tracking of number of users and revenue, and it will be us, of course, as a team to judge, but it will also be like up to you and anybody in the community. I think it will be fairly obvious to see if something is succeeding or not based on metrics. That's it. And I don't think there is much more I can comment on at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's going to become clear as time goes on. I think it's going to be really obvious what works, what doesn't, and I think just the pressure of the community, both on THORChain and the Ruji side. If there's an underperformer, it's going to get real loud, and I think this is a self-correcting problem, because like myself, I hold Rune, I hold Ruji. I'm invested in both aspects, right? Like I'll get noisy too. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is a self-correcting problem that just is normal, like market forces, really.
Yeah. It's there's this sunken ship fallacy. Like that's why I'm asking. I'm just curious, and I don't want to like crucifix anybody.
Well, when I was like, okay, so there's a little confusion what I said earlier about like looking at the market for another design and using that. What I meant to say is just a design that works. I wasn't necessarily talking about marketing. Like we have to market everything. No one's going to use it. That's so true. It's like if you made a fork of THORChain or whatever, like no one's going to use it unless you market the damn thing, and that'd be really hard to do. It's like what I was going for. If something is just simply not working, the code sucks, the UI is terrible. That's just like core functionality stuff. Then you would just like Rujiran with like what does the market accept as a UI, as a form that works. You know what I mean? That has good adoption. And sometimes it's more complicated like that. Like Kenton says, maybe they just have good marketing and their UI sucks. This is going to take a little bit of intelligence on our point as well. But yeah, for changing the fees, like from going 50 to 40%, that would just be ADR on THORChain as far as I understand. It's configurable via Mimir. Is that right, Kenton? That's my understanding.
I'm sorry. Honestly, I was spacing you guys. I was daydreaming a bit. Patriot, yeah. Sorry, guys. It's been a long. Come on, it's been a few hours. What are we on? 3 hours?
3
Come on,
hours.
give me a break.
Yeah. 3
Sorry,
hours.
I
Oh
spaced
man.
it. What did you ask me about a Mimir setting?
Well, Pragmatic Monkey can answer too. It was just for changing the fees for to go to 50 to 40% tax. It would just be an ADR and Mimir change, right? No,
I don't know.
ADR. It would be an ADR, but then the change. It's all at smart contract level. You cannot make it at THORChain level. So it will be us who, after the ADR, have to manually to make a
new version
settings to change the weight of the revenue collector and distribution.
Got it. Okay. Well, then that answers your question with Coke, and I'm glad you actually asked it because I didn't realize it was a little deeper than that.
Yeah, and guys, keep in mind this is just pragmatic monkey as his own opinions. He's not representing like Rujira or like this is how it goes. So keep that in mind as well.
And also,
we
all represent our own ideas. I am Rujira holder, but I still want to poke holes in Rujira. So it's this like a really fine level understanding how it's going. So I'm just keep that in mind, guys.
Absolutely. You know, everyone, it doesn't matter if it's myself, Kenton, Pragmatic Monkey, Code Hans, JP, Chad, doesn't matter. When we juxtapose ourselves toward the universe, we are all fools. We're all fools. We all are just doing our best trying to figure out the most optimal way forward. The key, I think, is just having the intelligence to know how dumb you are and then just having the wisdom to admit it. You know what I mean? Like we're all, this is all new stuff. It's all 0 to 1s and it's a process. And I there was like a little subtext to what Pragmatic Monkey was saying. You guys don't be blowing him up, okay? Leave the poor guy alone unless it's really important. Because like now I do spaces, like I get so many freaking DMs, you guys, and it is so hard to keep up. You know what I mean? So don't stress out this Frenchman right here, okay? He's working really hard, so don't bust his balls. I think he's pretty smart. I think he knows. We'll bust his balls on the stage, okay?
I have the final question for Pragmatic Monkey, the final, and I promise I will switch off. I will start timestamping this space. Let's see if I see something going on, and I want to report. I know I was aimed like on the Rujira. There's this help, and then you have you at the help section you can like give some feedback. It really feels like a one-sided feedback. I just submitted there. Is it at the moment the best solution, or can I just track the what's going on somewhere else, maybe about all those apps and stuff?
So sorry, what do you mean?
How can people
by feedback?
How can people give feedback?
So we have to. You can always create a support ticket in Discord. That's if you want to do it privately. You can speak in the Telegram channel or in the Dev Discord publicly. And then when it's specific to product, we have a smaller like a tester group with a member of the community. And if you're interested, like just reach out to Erudite and we can add you there. And you can provide feedback there specific to products. And that's how we have been iterated to make things better, like over the past months and a half since we started to go live with RugiSwap and RugiTrade. And it has bring a ton of value, and we have already like improved the product like on the RugiTrade side and the RugiSwap side a lot thanks to that. So that's like it looks like you have good opinions. Like go there and just join the tester group. We want to keep it relatively small because to keep it manageable, so it's not it doesn't become just another Telegram group like we have for the community with 800,000 people and impossible to track everything. But we can get you there. I'll DM you.
Absolutely. Because as I told everybody, there's no need to complain if you don't have any solutions. So keep that in mind as well, guys.
No, yeah, I'll add you there actually. I'm glad to have you there. But yeah, so just I repeat that because you kept pushing me on very sensitive topics and stuff where I don't have like I'm just voicing some opinions and coming up on spot with some ideas, but those are very triggering topics on usually both sides of the community. There is no decision being made. There is no closed door deal already agreed or whatever. Just like a community chat happening live as we speak. And yeah, so please, people, don't get mad for anything I may have said about whether it's PERP or potential pathway of post ADR20 in 12 months. The current wording in ADR20 is very good because it's flexible and it gives us the opportunity to decide with another ADR in 12 or in 9 months' time, once we will have more data and we'll be all more informed about what's the best decision to make, instead of trying to rush everything now where it's still all not just starting to happen.
Yeah. And I hope, I really want to promote a culture where we can come up here and talk honestly of how we feel about things as individuals and not have to worry about blowbacks. And I think that's a shared effort. Like anyone listening to this, or if you're someone in Telegram and you understand that, and someone just like freaking out, having a mental breakdown because someone said something, tell them to take a big chill pill. Okay. Because what I see is a lot of nothing burgers turn into like something burgers over nothing, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, it's okay. Like, it's just an idea. Like, you know, I said a lot of things about, you know, the interface, like the rewards going to TCY. That was just an idea I had in the spot. Maybe it's a really stupid idea. And probably is, you know, because I said it. But you see what I'm saying? Just let people bake ideas. Let them just think out loud. Don't let's not create a environment where people feel like they have to self-censor a little bit to protect the arbitrary feelings of emotion, because they might be onto something truly good. It just takes a while to talk about something, and collectively we all bake and we all get there.
Just want to add to it too that, like mentioned, you know, PM is presenting himself, his ideas. The same thing with myself and Patriot. Like, you know, the THORChain account is hosting these spaces to try and get reach, to try to do marketing, right? Try to get the message out there. But in no way, shape, or form do I think, and I'm sure Patriot agrees, that our ideas are THORChain's, right? My ideas are mine. Patriot's ideas are his. And THORChain is the collection of all of our ideas. We just happen to be the ones on the stage talking. And everyone is welcome to come up, disagree, you know, present your ideas, what have you. You know, it's an open platform.
100%. 100%. I just I do my best like anyone else, but I'm not an expert in every field. I'm not a coder. You know, I've taken some economic classes, but I'm nowhere near on the level Kenton is. I have to be humble about my weaknesses. I just try my best to think of first principles and what makes sense, and I try to just I try to take into consideration of how other people's are going to interpret ideas, and you know, just keep things as stable as possible. Because, like I said, guys, I think we got this thing. I really do. I mean, like what we could offer people like Stone, who was on the space earlier. We got this damn thing. The how we mess this up is we self implode by just, you know, whether it's some silly nonsense arbitrary, you know, drama that we have. Like, really, guys, if we just work together and do our best and, you know, be honest, have our fierce debates when we need them, but just understand in the back of our mind that really we're all just trying to figure this out together in real time. No one's ever built anything like this before. And just keep your eye on the ball. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to become a decentralized Binance, maybe even far greater than that proliferates everywhere. That's what my eye is. So we're all going to get there together. Let's just stay together. And I don't think that's hard. We just have to keep reminding ourselves what our objective is. And Kenton, that was well said. Thank you.
I think that's great. I think should we start looking to wrap this up? Has anybody been waiting to say something? Wants to jump in?
I think we're good, guys. And I'm sorry, I didn't want to be hostile at all. Like, you never know. As we mentioned many times, Pragmatic Monkey is here as an individual, and I think most of the questions was actually for the like organization or the like the blockchain itself, and yeah, I don't want to spin up any dramas as well. I'm just curious how these things work, and a lot of actually our Saturday discussions have been sparked of this like a community curiosity. Like ADR20, Boone brought it up, said like, "Hey, that's not what is mentioned in ADR20." So all my questions are actually like, in a sense, lighthearted. Just want to understand how the system goes, and the only reason why I want to know, I just want to track, I want to see, I want to be involved, and that's why THORChain is such a beautiful blockchain, guys. Have you seen ever any community, any blockchain like Polkadot, Ethereum, like having these open discussions when we dive deep and we discuss, we don't shy away. Either it was this Thorify or it was this March when the Bybit got hacked. We came together, we discussed, we found a common ground. I love it, guys. It's the best community where I have been so far.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, I don't hope I'm not something like I have an ego trip, but yeah, you literally like you listen to spaces like this, and it's like almost like history's being happening in real time with just like where the currents go and the thoughts and people coming up, and you can feel it in real time. I mean, this is all happening. It's never difficult to explain. 0 to 1s are very interesting because no one knows what the future exactly looks like. We all have to try to construct some model in our brain. We all know it's incredible. We all know it's really powerful. Just how powerful is it going to be, and how powerful can we make it? And so the goal is just to make the best decisions we possibly can. And Pragmatic Monkey, I don't think it needs to be said, but I'm going to say it. You are doing an absolutely fantastic job. I interact with you a lot. You're everywhere. Keep it going, man. I know the Rujirans are so blessed and thankful that you are one of the main guys. So keep doing what you're doing, man. You're absolutely crushing it.
Thanks, super kind, man. Thank you.
I just want to, Paige, you said about doing these spaces, making history and stuff. So like, back in, when was it, ended January, beginning of February, Thorify, everything was falling apart. Me and you were just chatting and like, let's just have a space, just talk about stuff. And we just came on. I think it went for like 3 or 4 hours. And then Alex was able to come up, talk about Prop 6. And like some people told me like that space saved THORChain. I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but like maybe it did, that moment in time, having Alex come up and talk about it and everybody hear it, and it rallied the whole community, and it we got out of that, right? And it was just one space, right? And so the point I'm trying to make is it was kind of that was marketing, like that was us, talking, getting together and whatnot, but like the same thing could happen with any piece of marketing. We don't know what could go viral and just all of a sudden take off and be a benefit to us, right? We do 200 more spaces that really don't do anything for THORChain, and it was just that one that maybe did something, but it's still worth it compared to the other 200. And it's the same thing with marketing and trying to get the message out there. We don't know which is going to work, what's going to take off, but if we get something that does and we just stick with it, we don't have the opportunity for something to work if we don't try. So it's just like me and you having that space on that Saturday, let's just have one, right? What do we have to lose? Let's just go talk and get out there, right? If we hadn't have done that, would we be, would things be worse off? I don't know. But apparently it really helped. So, but you can't score until you shoot. Right, you got to take the shot. We got to put something out there. So, yeah, I think we can make some history with marketing. I think we can find something that works. So we just have to get it out there.
Totally agree, and that was well said. And I think that might be a good spot to leave it. Kenton, what do you guys think? Yeah. Okay, I'll take the silence as confirmation of that. Absolutely banger space today, guys. That was awesome. I hope and please give me feedback if there are things that I can do better, or if you want some things discussed. It's very hard, as I said, like my DMs are a little outrageous. So if I don't respond to you, or if I respond like with just simple words, just understand I'm probably responding like to 20 other people. And, you know, I'm a pretty busy guy too, you know, outside of crypto. So I do my best. But yes, great space, guys. Call it there, Kenton. What do you think?
Yeah, you bet. You want to wrap it up for us?
Yeah. Okay, guys. So the next topic, and I totally dropped the ball on this. I was supposed to talk to the XRP. It's about hosting a space with them. So I'm going to get working on that. I was hoping to have maybe to really keep going on this XRP thing we're going. So for next week, I was thinking I'll try and organize something with them. Hopefully I have an answer on that by tomorrow or the next day. Yeah, so guys, just to quickly recap, you know, we talked about whether or not we have our own interface. I think we pretty much determined that having our own interface is probably ideal. We still have to work out the kinks of exactly how that's going to be. And then, yeah, so hopefully XRP space next week. We'll go there. Please guys, for one last moment, please reshare, post a space so people can hear this. They can hear the recording. This has been an absolutely tremendous space. I'm very thankful to all the speakers here. And one thing I do like to always remind people, it is always a tangent, but I think it's probably one of the most important tangents. Be there for Maya Protocol in case they need us, in case the daggers come, for being the first ever non-KYC permissionless access to privacy. This is absolutely, we cannot fail that test. So always keep them in the back of your mind. And if ever some flows that are uncomfortable go through Maya Protocol to Zcash, you need to be ready. You need to be ready. You need to come to the defense, because that was very brave of them. And they are our sisters. They are our brothers. And what they did for us was great. We got to be there for them. That's how it is. So, yep, I think that's it.